as well. They do throw in a couple more random picks than some other teams. So I think this may be one of the most versatile drafts that we see out of the tournament.
Okay, Ben, what about you? Expecting anything a little bit unique, or do you think
they
maybe both
do
teams
throw in a
test the water
couple
a
more
little bit
random
in game
picks
one?
than some.
I think it's less so about the picks and more about the side.
They do throw in a couple more random picks than some other teams. So I think this may be one of the most versatile drafts that we see.
For those of you not good at math,
Toby's not here.
And then on Dire, they throw in
water more random picks than some.
I think it's less so about the picks and more about the side. Twice as many games
they do throw in a couple more random picks than
same
some
for
other
Mineski,
teams.
it's about like 45% win rate for Radiant and then 60% for Dire, and these are all stats after the last major, so pretty fresh stuff. And it's not that surprising that they have a high win rate on Dire, because most people think that Dire has a just better win rate in general, but a lot of the other teams here, for example, Wings, win much more on Radiant. But both these teams prefer Dire and have much more success on there.
Okay, well, we'll see. Yeah, of course, that's always part of the draft, right, to see what side you get to play on and how you start with that best of 3. Milk, what about you? We talked about draft and variance. We talked about sides. What is your area of expertise for this first game?
That was it.
Okay.
I'm done. Thank you.
You're with me. I like it. You know, I'm here. I just ask questions, and as soon as they're done saying stuff, I'm like, well, we're waiting for the draft. And
Now,
we're about to go
obviously,
to game one.
experience is one of the things that plays in a lot as well. And as Swindle was saying, they've gone to a lot of events now. They've steadily improved because they attend all these events, whereas they're up against a Mineski who hasn't had that fortune of being at all these events. So that's going to play in. And then, again, tracing back to the nerves, when we saw the walk-in, I couldn't help but notice, and I might be overanalyzing their body language right now, but Mineski sort of looked, you know,
Totally.
a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I'm a bit worried on their behalf, but I hope they just bring their game and play the Filipino style.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, as you see, the draft has started. First band's down, and it's going to be Enchantress and Earthspirit going out. And we do have the sides also, Mineski on Radiant, and it is going to be compLexity on Dire for the first game in this best of 3, the elimination match in Group A between these two teams, fighting to see who gets to play one more time here in the Mall of Asia Arena.
I'm happy to see compLexity doesn't have their headsets on, so we can definitely influence the draft here.
Oh, there we go.
We got
Well,
this, guys.
compLexity all grouped around. See what we'll have to do a little bit retroactively. Lone Druid getting banned out.
And no Bounty Hunter to open it up, so. Prophet, very common offlaner at the moment, just very easy to zone supports. It limits your options a bit, and he pretty much always gets farmed, not to mention he can fight anywhere on the map. So
Probably one of the highest regarded heroes right now, alongside Invoker. Earthspirit, obviously, but he's banned out. So I think Nature's Prophet is a great pickup, especially because they didn't have that great of a success when they had the Invoker pick yesterday, whereas the Nature's Prophet was the one that almost opened up the game for them.
Doom Invoker in a response from compLexity, really good openers. Doom's been almost entirely played as a 4 position lately, and it works out quite well. You can do a mix of roaming. Sometimes it is an offlaner, but very often as well, the 4 position, you can deal with the treants a bit, and then the stage, zone heroes, transitions are nice on the board.
And most teams love this nowadays. It's all liquid, have yesterday again. So definitely a strong opening for both teams on the last pick for this.
Now, as we're waiting, something you brought up earlier, how Invoker's a little bit more, and that's one of the big changes that you guys noticed. I mean, what is the cause of that? Is it just overall all heroes and how people are looking at it, or is it specifically to Invoker and some other relations?
I think in the case of Invoker, people have just started to adapt to it or want to know how to play against it rather than just giving up and accepting defeat, so to speak. And then I think the reason they picked up Nature's Prophet is because it dictates a different play style, and it gives you sort of an objective to play against, whereas Invoker is the same thing every time, right? You go in the middle lane, you get your Midas, you have your Fort Spirits that no one can kill, you just rely on imbalance and filling up your inventory with items until he reaches a point where you can't lose with it, whereas Nature's Prophet is sort of dictates the early game, and going into the mid game pushes the waves out, and you can sort of force the map movement with it.
Yeah, and I think that the other reason Invokers slipped through rather than getting banned is because there's just, like you said, heroes that force their playstyle. Earthspirit is one of them, gives you really good pressure ability against the enemy mid-hero. Bounty Hunter does a similar thing, can move around the map, and Enchant as well. You just enchant a creep and you go somewhere else, but you send it to the off lane and you create pressure in that lane. It basically helps all of your lanes. Like there was a game yesterday that Fnatic played where he got a solo kill in the off lane, with the Hellbear and the Batrider. They just get free kills out of it, and he doesn't even have to be there. It's really effective for that early roam potential while also transitioning as a core. So in a lot of ways, Invoker has a very safe laning stage. You know what he's going to do, you know what spells he's going to cast, and yeah, he'll be a little bit hard to deal with in the mid to late game, but at least the laning stage is going to go pretty straightforward.
I like compLexity draft a lot more simply because they have the Invoker. We generally know Nature's Prophet as a hero that puts pressure in a lot of the lanes, but compLexity utilizes the Invoker exceptionally well. I think they utilize Sunstrike probably better than any other team that I've seen.
Yeah, you got to ask yourself, is this trade-off really worth it? You're going to get Nature's Prophet and a Witch Doctor, which, you know, by no means, it's a great support hero, but is it really worth giving up the very popular Invoker, obviously, and now Doombringer as well? I think it's a sort of a weak trade, but then again, Mineski might have a game plan, possibly an early game pressure push strat.
Okay, I mean, still plenty of time to tell. Gone through the second phase of bans, back on compLexity. See how they want to.
Mostly offlaners being banned as well. So that's most of Swindle's heroes. He played a lot of Faces Void yesterday in the 3 games that is. So he won't be able to rely on that. A Lich, a little surprising here. That hero's been semi-phased out of the recent meta, I believe. He was popular maybe a month, two months ago occasionally, but the last day he's been very rare.
We did see a game with it yesterday as well. Really? So in this particular tournament, with this game now, we've seen some popularity for it.
In fact, Mineski, I think, that played it, right? Against Team Liquid, if I'm not mistaken, in their first game.
Well, it's quite good versus Witch Doctor. Good against Nature's Prophet in the laning stage as well. So
It might be just because a lot of the good offlaners have been banned out, so they want to make the lane a lot easier for Swindles. Sometimes they also pick them something like Brewmaster, which is not very popular, but it's something that compLexity turns to now and then, especially if they're up against a lot of team fight.
yeah, I like that. They're still lacking disables. They don't have good Sunstrike setups right now. That's a major downside of their draft.
Yeah, sometimes they do like a mid gyro with a homing missile setup, or they do like an Ember Spirit with the Searing Chains. Those two are generally sufficient enough for the Invoker to set up a Sunstrike.
We've seen Chessie can easily handle a lane on his own, so they could potentially go with, you know, a roaming Doom into a dual off lane with the Lich as well, depending on what they pick. There's no lone druid for Chessie to pick up, so that's the downside of it. Yeah. I don't know what else they could. Maybe a Queen of Pain, but.
And I don't like giving Invoker compLexity because they also run the Invoker safe lane a fair amount too. It just makes their lane options much more flexible.
All right, what about on the side of Mineski for their draft so far? Do you think it's something? Oh, well, Queen of Pain coming out. They did spend a lot of time on that.
I like that. They could definitely kill Invoker fairly straightforward, even if it's just an NPTP. If the kill potential is even, they have a great shot there. And a lot of squishy heroes, really. Invoker plus Lich. Slardar Doom are going to be a lot harder to kill there. And Slardar pretty good against Witch Doctor Quap. If he ever catches them, they die very rapidly. So I like it as a pick.
Yeah, Nature's Prophet too.
Yeah, it's good against all 3. Once he gets Blink Dagger, they all have to feel pretty threatened. It's the stun they really need, actually.
Yeah, you guys were talking about the disables earlier overall for the team, and also in conjunction with Invoker. Securing 1 for now with Slardar.
Gives them really good Roche potential as well, something that's kind of gone away with Slardar being less popular, but if they kill any hero, it's an easy Roche, because they kill it so rapidly with amp damage.
Yeah, at the same time, Frost Armor is gonna negate Roche's damage to you, so.
Yeah, they could do it really early. They could probably do it with 2-3 heroes early, easy.
I imagine Doom getting an Alpha Wolf.
Yeah.
Do you think Mineski could possibly throw in a Drow Ranger?
They definitely could.
It's something that they run sometimes, but
it's okay. Slardar's obviously a counter, but
yeah, Slardar's gonna have a field day if they pick up that Drow Ranger. If he manages to get up a decent time Blink Dagger, that's just gonna be a lineup that he runs down so easily. Doombringer as well. If Mineski doesn't stand their ground and shoot with the Drow Ranger, they're just gonna get run over.
Night Stalker for Mineski.
It's one good option against that. He can roam early, try to shut down the Invoker in the laning stage. They can just do things like smoke Night Stalker, Witch Doctor, go anywhere on the map, and Nature's Prophet could be there. So that's basically a 4-man gank no matter where you go. Pretty straightforward. Quap can do the same, TP to lane, blink after. So they're going to have really good lane defense and reach. They could definitely win their lanes pretty hard. But if compLexity just plays passive with things like Lich, Doom, Invoker, those heroes are pretty passive farmers. As long as the ganks aren't successful, then they should be able to turn it into mid-game team fights really easily.
Yeah, this goes very well with what Mineski said in their opening interview, with how they want to run at their opponent and just meet them with all-out aggression.
That'll be pretty good. Again, they're still lacking a lot of disable on complexity. The Slardar is a great start, Doom is really solid, but against heroes like Night Stalker, if he doesn't get Slither crushed, he's going to get away in most cases. So if he can absorb a lot of the damage and a lot of the nukes, then the fights could go really well for Mineski. Wow, Axe.
There you go. Axe to round it out. That's complexity's draft right there. Crowd cheering. Excited to see how that plays out.
I think Slag would be a good pickup.
The Axe is going to be a 1v1 versus NP, right?
I think so. Is that a counter? in theory, it sounds pretty decent, but we just haven't seen anyone run Axe.
Not really. They're just probably just gonna hit him constantly. You know, he has no threat of Axe going in on him.
Yeah, I guess he'll kill the Treants, but obviously he won't be able to chase on the NP most likely.
I mean, there is the opportunity to micro with the Treants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
People do that?
Oh, you're used to playing with my Nature's Prophet, that's why. I get it.
Well, we saw the finish of the draft, PL coming out for Mineski, and the crowd going wild just to see Mineski coming in. Yeah, the energy here, all great. Right now you see complexity on screen. They're getting ready, getting their energy back up, and you can tell the crowd is just excited to see these two teams face off. We're loading in. What do you guys think overall then, having seen that last pick from Mineski? Anything special in terms of, you think, you know, Mineski played out the draft pretty well? I mean, complexity, it seems like you guys are pretty satisfied given how they started off.
I'm slightly skeptical about the Phantom Lancer, but it's great mid hero. They might put it mid against the Invoker. It's one of these heroes that's gotten a lot of popularity because it goes well up against the Invoker. Believe it or not, some people like will frown upon that, but on the highest level, everyone knows that Phantom Lancer is supposed to be the Invoker counter on the middle lane, so they might put the Queen of Pain in the safe lane.
Yeah, okay. Mineski's definitely going to lane rotate consistently. I mean, they definitely don't necessarily want the Axe to be laning against the Nature's Prophet. They could put a different hero against him and rotate things. All
right, Ben, last thoughts from you. Having seen the draft, anything special you want to note?
There's an Axe.
The good reminder, we did see an Axe in the game. Will it work out for complexity? This is game number 1 between Mineski and complexity for the elimination match in Group A.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first game here at ESL Manila. I'm OD Pixel, and I'm going to be joined this series by both Blitz and Capitalist. Guys, we've seen the draft. We're seeing an Axe final pick from complexity and a final pick PL for Ben, which the crowd here seems to be loving.
I'm kind of a little bit confused about the Phantom Lancer. I know it's primarily used as the Invoker counter, but it's still a pretty tall task for him because I think Slardar works pretty well with the AoE. They have plenty of AoE, especially with the Axe, which is a hero that I think is the most interesting part of this draft so far.
Yeah, I think, you know, Blitz is one of the people who, like, really first jumped on the Phantom Lancer and he found out, like, oh, this hero really counters the Invoker. It's actually really strong. So hearing him being a little bit hesitant about the pickup, you know, just kind of reinforces my own fears, which is it is going to be going up against, you know, an Axe. It's kind of a greedy pick. I'm afraid the complexity, especially with their really quick play style, is just going to run over Mineski in the early game. But I do like their laning phase setup so far. I think that it's decently favorable for them. They should actually come away, I think, with 2 out of 3 of the lanes won.
Okay, I mean, if that is
30 seconds to battle.
If that is the case here for Mineski, I mean, if they do get ahead in the laning stage, what's complexity's potential in terms of turning around in the mid game and catching back up to a side like Mineski?
I mean, as long as this team pushes past, like, what, 30, 35 minutes, you're feeling pretty comfortable with Mineski if you haven't lost, like, a lane of racks or anything yet.
Here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Both teams ready to kick it off. It looks like Mineski will be able to secure themselves the top rune here for Ben, and bottom, complexity will be able to get it in return for Chessie on the Invoker.
I think this lane, Chessie can still do a lot here with the addition of maybe Jesse Vash is just going to come here, block a little bit, but I'm most interested to see how this Axe works out. He's going to be pretty much one-on-one against this Queen of Pain. The Night Stalker might help out a little bit, but against an Axe, not going to accomplish too much. But I do like how Mineski have lanes so far. Like Cap said, this is semi-favorable for them, especially if Bocarino can get aggressive early on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, I think they actually have a chance to be able to win the top lane as well. The Night Stalker, Queen of Pain versus an Axe and Lich. This feels really comfortable for Mineski.
Yeah, we can see already.
Mid could be one, bottom could be one.
Swindle's going in with the crush, and he's got to be careful because Jesse Vash coming in with the cast out from the trees. They're going to try and chase down the Slardar here. He's only level 1, so there's no sprint available, but it looks like he will just be able to get himself out in time. But this bottom lane, Swindle's really been showing the power of Mineski's dual lane here in the safe lane Radiant.
Chessie right now holding pretty even so far against the Phantom Lancer. This isn't necessarily a lane that the Invoker absolutely gets dominated in or anything. It's more just the Phantom Lancer does well in it, which is pretty rough against Invoker. Like most matchups against it are fairly difficult.
Look, nice potato. They're coming away, jumping in onto Z-Freak. They've got the dagger down and get the stun off here, trying to buy some time. Jules going to get a second spell in. He can't quite get the vision. Z-Freak, he's going to continue to run one more to it, but he turns his attention towards the Lich. Hansken now turning around with a blast. Limp and Z-Freak not in a position to re-engage. So Jules will have to run himself away, and that will be that.
That was a beautiful read by Raging Potato. The fact that he knew he could blink forward ahead of the Doom and be able to body block him in that tight little corridor, it actually opened up a possibility for them to maybe kill the Doom in that kind of scenario. At the very least, they did a good amount of damage. And Z-Freak is kind of the key hero for complexity in this laning phase. His rotations are like paramount for complexity because we're talking about how good Mineski's lanes are in this static sort of phase. So it's all up to our roamer to change things.
Top lane, Raging Potato being zoned out a little bit. Bottom lane, Jesse Vash coming straight across again towards Swindles. There's a lot of space here for the Nature's Prophet to find a lot of this farm. And top lane, Jules just eyeing themselves up on the sidelines, waiting to see if Limp or Hans can come too close for comfort. And this mid lane at the moment, it looks like Chessie just being able to keep the edge on the Invoker, but Ben, he's still being able to find a fair bit of CS on the PM.
Yeah, again, Chessie's going to do fine in this lane. It's just the Phantom Lancer does better than a lot of other heroes do. It's really hard to gank this hero at the same time. You can set up for a lot of kill opportunities onto the Invoker, especially with
Furion's coming in with the rotation. Slipped coming through one, trying to turn it around. Limp still only loaded, gonna go down. First blood for Raging Potato now. Mineski's gonna go to the same up. Probably Jesse Vash in trouble. They can't quite find Hansken. He gets himself away. Jesse with the cars. Holding back the advance. They're trying for it. 1v1 in the tree line. Hansken versus Potato. Who's going to come out on top with the right leg? They'll get it! Double kill for the Potato Man! Mineski hitting it 2-0 onto the board.
And that is exactly the kind of start that Mineski desperately needed. We knew their laning phase was strong, but they had to be able to capitalize. They had to be able to get those kills. And you know, with a team like this who suffered a really bad loss to Liquid, they needed something to really get that blood pumping.
Honestly, in their games against Liquid, I thought this team was at least, especially in the second game, showing some flashes of brilliance. We talked about it early, how much the Nature's Prophet would matter. Key rotations up at top, and he has to abuse this laning phase, especially if they can make it work against both the Lich and the Axe. The Lich is solely up here to be the lane dominator.
Bottom lane, Jesse Vash on the run. The Stone Strike on point, but it doesn't matter. Z-Freak there slaps him down with the Doom, and compLexity getting themselves a kill on the board.
Z-Freak gets really lucky here. He managed to find himself a Mud Golem, which is probably the best ganking creep you could possibly have. It's no mana cost to be able to throw out that stun. It's decent damage, and to just close that gap for you to be able to get that overly powerful Infernal Blade at early levels.
I mean, at the moment, 4 minutes in, 2 for 1, still in the mid lane CS. For Jesse, 21 for 7 against the 18 for 2. Slight edge, but you can see already Jules looking for a bit of action. Z-Freak is going to be there with a comeback if it goes through, and Jules trying to go in, but now there's the turnaround. Cold snap onto Jules. He's fairly tanky on the Night Stalker, not tanky enough, and compLexity will punish it. And as you were saying earlier, just great positioning from Z-Freak. But bottom lane, Cast, it needs another bounce. Don't wait, they've got the Sprout, and with the Maledict down as well, they should have enough damage. Sprint is going to just only increase the burst, and he's going to pop. He's going to pop. He's gone. Another kill for Mineski.
You've got to be carrying tangos if you're going up against a Furion like this. I believe Artur, you know, he made that very clear in the earlier series in Shanghai that you have to have some sort of tree-cutting mechanism against that pesky Furion. But I love the way that Z-Freak set up that gank in mid, by the way. He countered it beautifully. It's 4 minutes in. You know the Night Stalker's going to rotate, and he's going to want to shut down the Invoker.
They just haven't been able to get any of their heroes online because of the Nature's Prophet rotations, and even with him moving along so much, he's still second in CS. He's kept up across the board, and if you just look at how poor Swindles is, just level 4 right now, can't even afford boots. And this is a hero that isn't meant to be this hard stacked. You need some measure of farm, especially when you've got heroes like an Axe that need the minimum of the Blink Dagger to come online.
Yeah, and the supports, because the Furion's rotating out, the supports are actually doing all right for themselves as well on this side of Mineski. You look at like Lich and Doom, those are heroes that get an abnormal amount of levels.
Mid lane, Mineski coming around the corner. Jesse didn't expect it. He's been sprouted up. They're going to try for this one. Z-Freak coming in, looking to try and take Bok in return, but they'll get the kill. Mineski can Bok get out. No, he can't. They will get the return kill.
Oh, but in top lane, Lindsay will get spawned on by Jules as well as Raging Potato. They're just kiting him around as much as possible. They should be able to get this kill, but Raging Potato doesn't have a blink up.
And Limp slowed down by the Void. One more snap for Jules. Can he get it out? The dagger damage is enough. Potato on a killing spree now on his quad. He's having a great start to this game. 3-0-0 at the moment on the Queen of Pain.
I'll tell you, Owen, nothing feels better than being able to get rid of that battle hunger by killing an Axe.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so far, level 5 as well. This Crop's going to get a decent timing on the level 6. And, I mean, once she has that Sonic Wave online, where do you imagine to see her look for the first rotation?
I sort of think it's still okay for them to play in this offlane area, just because they're abusing so much. The Slardar is being shut down so hard that I think most of it just comes down to Bocarino making stuff happen around the map, and the Queen of Pain retroactively TPing in, just waiting for opportunities to form on the map. But right now, compLexity, they are getting a lot of farm on Z-Freak. They've got level 6 on him already, and they want to do something with this to try to stem the tide.
Looking towards the bottom, Swindles. Just working with the pull head. Jules, he's got to be careful. Sunstrike coming in, it's going to be on point. Oh, stiff charges on the one there, barely keeping him alive. And Jules, he'll be able to get himself back to safety, but only just.
Should be a guaranteed kill here at bottom lane. If they get the right kind of opening, you've got level 6 on the Doom. It should be, and the best kill at this point would either be Phantom Lancer or Furion, just because the Furion's making so much happen around the map. But you also, we haven't talked about Ben-Hur, but he's had a good matchup against this Invoker, and he's gotten some help as well.
If this Doom lands, it should be one. Let's see how quickly Ben-Hur can react. And already, yeah, he can't close the gap, Z-Freak and Ben. He's going to be able to live another day here in the mid lane. Bottom lane, though, here we go with the Sprout, the cast, the Maledicts as well. Swindles again, step up, but the bounces here, doing it for Mineski, and it's going to be another kill onto Swindles. This man, he is not having the time he was looking for on this bottom lane.
The Vash, man, he knows the paralyzing cast lock is so good.
He's not done yet. Bocarino with the TP coming in to join the mid lane. The silence from the Night Stalker, more than enough to secure another kill for Mineski. Bottom lane, Jesse playing games here with Z-Freak. He does have a Doom. We'll see if he wants to drop it in to try and secure the kill with Jesse. Oh, with the jump tree! He dropped the tree! Bob Ross him, he puts the tree up. Z-Freak stuck! Oh my God! Jesse Vash! We go with the Sprout, the cast, the Maledicts as well. Swindles again, step up, and the bounces! So they can close in, they do have a death ward available. Doom's going to get dropped, Paralyzing can't scout though, so Jesse not the mana for it, but Bocarino with the TP, the Sprout, he's got the damage here, one more touch will do it, and he'll get it! Bocarino with another one on the side of compLexity, will get punished by the looks of it. Sunstrike coming through, he will fall, Raging Potato, sticking around, coming through. Oh, can he get himself even the lives with the double kill, dunks them down. The dagger is onto Swindles. Is it going to be enough? It's going to be close.
I think he's okay.
I think he lives.
Oh,
No, it's sprint! What did you sprint? What did you
Okay.
He wanted to kill himself. All right, and he does. So they do get the deny there. But coming up to 9 minutes here, it's 9 for 5 at the moment. And I mean, again, this chaotic considering the two drives. Is this quite clearly favoring Mineski, or compLexity still okay with this?
I still think compLexity's still okay with this for Mineski. They've really been able to get introduced to top line so far throughout this entire game. Bocarino's been kind of the standout player with this rotation. But they just have to be a little bit careful about getting too over-eager, because compLexity's lineup relies heavily on counter-initiating.
Jesse Vash, I mean, he comes in there, will be able to get himself out. I mean, this Witch Doctor, the progression, he's got the fact he's levels, he doesn't really show any fear at all. He's just going around and casually poking at your mid-invoker.
Because he knows there's no hard disables on the side of compLexity that can chase him down, and he realizes that this lineup is really item reliant, and they hit this sort of timing. And Mineski are doing a good job of abusing that, but they have to be careful. Once again, you have to kind of rein things in, start to get some farm, slow down the pace of the game.
Yeah, especially once compLexity start getting their Blink Daggers. Limp, of course, win for the Vanguard, but we'll also see the Slardar is going to be going for a Blink Dagger eventually as well. These are...
You are doomed. You wake in lowest hell.
Ready to turn around. Danger locks onto Z3. Jules. Can he connect another spell? Juice to the call out. He's now going to get power onto the limb. He's going to get the target. Big sprouted over the backline. Jules. Killing hands. Can he take down the Lynch? Can they move it forward? Say the top lane. Potato takes down Swindles. A huge. He's got another boy too. This is a kill. Double kill for Jules. They'll get the spread out again. Can they try and found themselves the fourth here inside the side of Mineski? And Mineski will do it. Triple kill for Jules.
I mean, we're talking about the fact that, yeah, Mineski need to be careful with their aggression, but it turns out it's actually compLexity who need to be careful. They're the ones who end up overextending themselves, lusting after those kills into the tier 1 tower, the bottom lane. Just a bad idea in general. Mineski were ready with the TPs.
And during that time as well, the Queen of Pain able to get the solo kill on the Swindles up the top, while simultaneously his team creates the pincer at bottom. All it does is cost him a Witch Doctor. For a second there, it looked really successful for compLexity. They didn't lose anyone initially to the Death Ward, and they were able to turn things around, but they just don't have the manpower right now.
I mean, as you said earlier, Cap Mineski, they're going to be so happy coming into this one. Obviously, this game, very important elimination match this series. And Mineski turning to 13-6 at the moment, 12 minutes in. In terms of net worth as well, you know, it's not a situation where compLexity necessarily finding a lot of farm in return. They are just ahead, and Mineski, they've got the gold that they need on their cores. I mean, in terms of kind of any big item timings, is there anything you feel the compLexity should wait for until they get before they try and go for another play like they just did on the bottom lane?
No, I mean, it's nighttime. You should definitely be looking for your pickoffs. Unfortunately, Mineski did smoke up into ward vision here, so he had unlikely Swindles gets picked off. Oh, maybe they still get him.
Like that, they can certainly give it a shot. They'll get the Void Stone. Here we go, moving in. No chance for the Slaughter. He may be slippery, but not slippery enough. And it's another one for Mineski, and they'll look to try and take a tier 1 here at the top as well.
They just didn't have any pressure going on in the other lane, so compLexity didn't really know where anybody from Mineski was, and like you talked about, Owen, what item is really going to help compLexity's chances right now? At this point, you usually see the Invoker have the Midas and already building into something, but for me,
look at this bottom. I mean, Limp, he does have the backup of the Lich. Is it going to be enough, especially with the TP coming in for both the Nature's Prophet and the PL joining this fight here. Again, should they overstep the market? compLexity, the Death Ward coming out, partly into Limp, but he's got the Frost Armor, and Mineski, they've already lost one. There's a Doom onto Ben-Hur. Can they chase it down? Z-Freak looking to move in past the tower. Raging Potato and Jesse Bash still there. 1-4 at the moment as Limp did go down on the axe. Z-Freak trading hits with the Potato. The cast coming out. Swindle still trying to move himself in at the top. Chessie receiving a bit of aggression here from Ben. Coming in, he doesn't care. The Doom's now worn off, and he just fights through. It's a double kill again for Jules. Gets himself out on the Night Stalker, and I've got to say, this Night Stalker player has got to be some of the best that I've seen this patch. 6-1-6 at the moment, just 14 minutes in.
Yeah, he was really taking advantage of the fact that compLexity don't seem to be playing very well as a team. Even that fight was a bit disjointed, and Chessie obviously being separated from both Z-Freak and Swindles, who are...
Ben's just playing with him here. He's got Potato. They do have a Sonic Wave, but they can set it up, and a Sprout onto Doom. Z-Freak will buy his way out. He will get himself away. Swindles, though, kind of left alone here on enemy lines. Mineski, they're going to look to try and punish this. Coming through, he's got a Sprout in a second. Bot, he'll land it. Trap is wooded up, but again, he has got that to Quelling Blade to get himself out, and Swindles will live this time.
Z-Freak's coming across with this haste rune. It looks like he maybe wants to try and catch out somebody, but without Doom, I don't see this possible unless Sunstrike.
They do let the Sunstrike Oh no! A huge error there from compLexity. A mid lane, Chessie, the man who just missed his Sunstrike, now he's going to be missing his life, his family, and his kids. He's dead. Another kill, 19-7, my goodness.
Mineski are just not stopping. The Queen of Pain gets a kill on Swindles. It's just everything is falling apart for compLexity, and Mineski, they're just gaining more strength because these are the kind of heroes who want to be able to snowball off kills. I can't really imagine any other like 4 position that gets more out of getting kills than a Night Stalker. Maybe like a Bounty Hunter, but this hero's rapidly getting out of control. He's going to have an axe sooner. I don't know, compLexity, I honestly don't think they can win once the axe is up.
Limp looking to lead in here on the mid lane, but well, with the tower gone, Mineski, they'll just start to move in on the axe. Gets off the call, buys him some time over the edge, Charlotte with the Sprout. Buying time for Mineski moving, second lance flies through Jesse, ready with the cast, and the Maledict. Sonic Wave, it will just flip Liberty, got the Maledict coming as well. My part, then we get the Storm to Potato, so striking out the chain frost. They'll find the kill onto the quad, Limp falling low. Will he go down 1-1, he got the Maledict, he should pop it, and he will. They'll get the axe
kill, but they do pay with the quad. And Ben, he's been doomed up as well. And Z-Freak now helping the team turn this round. Double kill. Can he find more? Switchers can't even get the crush out. Making it a 2-for-2 even fight at this point. Mineski, do they want to go back in more? You can see the Night Stalker Jules looking to see if he can come back in onto Z-Freak. Jesse throws out the cast, but it looks like they'll leave it as that. An engagement ending 2-for-2, and compLexity, they do find both the PL and the quad, so one of the better trades so far here for the Americans.
Yeah, that was a fair trade-off, but unfortunately Chessie's still falling a bit far behind. Still doesn't have that Midas. Blitz, how do you even play with the Invoker at this point when you're this far behind?
I think the issue is that the pace of the game is too fast for an Invoker, and that's what Mineski are doing really well. Is I was a little bit afraid that they might get too over-aggressive, but they're just that far ahead right now because compLexity just don't have any fighting items right now. They rely heavily on spells. Z-Freak just doesn't have any sort of way to open up with the Doom, aside from just kind of walking in. The Slardar still really far away from the Blink Dagger. This is not a flash farming hero, especially in a game like this. He's never going to find the map presence to be able to get anything. Lich, again, just a lane-dominating hero that doesn't really itemize or scale very well, and even bigger than that, it's the Axe, the hero that was kind of meant to start the fights for you, still 1,000 away from the Blink Dagger, and compLexity, they kind of have to slow down the pace of the game, wait for these items bare minimum before they get into the next engagement.
If both our Slardar and our Axe are having such a hard time in the laning phase, does it actually give you incentive? Maybe you should have gone Blink first on one of these heroes? It's kind of hard to call, obviously, in hindsight. But
I think the issue is that they didn't want Limp to be that 2 or 3 position hero. They kind of wanted him to have a little bit more farm, have a little bit more tank, so that he could continue to scale. But I don't think they anticipated things going this wrong. And for me personally, the sign of a team when they're in disarray is when you're losing multiple heroes on different sides of the map. It means that you're not coordinated, you're not using the map, and you're just getting picked off.
compLexity, they have very little map control at this point. They've got an aggressive ward forward, but it's for the most part the fact that they don't feel comfortable enough in this game to be able to push out past the river. So all of these lanes are going to be pushing forward into them. Mineski have a lot of information, even if they don't have aggressive wards down.
I mean, at this point of the game, to be this far behind in terms of kills and in terms of the net worth as well, I mean, what would you kind of point to as being the big issue here for compLexity? Is this an outdraft, or is this just outperformance this game so far? I mean, what is it in your mind that it feels that is the biggest mistake that compLexity made so far?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the draft really favored this kind of aggressive style that Mineski liked to put on. We saw in the game 2 against Liquid, that's the style that they want to put. They want to put pressure on you, they want to get aggressive all over the map, and compLexity just, I don't think they had the right response. For example, when they smoked that Invoker bottom, when he was 400 gold away from his Midas and he was already 8 minutes behind, you might as well just not leave that hero there.
Yeah, if you look at some of the previous drafts of Mineski, they actually are really good at, first of all, being able to apply pressure, but they're also really good at like greedy 4 positions.
Raging Potato, he's invis, he's going to break the smoke.
Oh, one of these moments as well, just a right rune at a right time, working out for Mineski. And indeed, the smoke will be successful. Bottom lane, the cast bounces, the Maledict and the Death Force swindles. Will manage to cancel it here with the crush. And straight down to Jesse, but Jesse, yes, he'll get taken down. Z-Freak burns him out, Swindles TPing back to the base, and Raging very deep, and Lim punishes it there with a dunk. And this time it's the mistakes of Mineski getting punished.
It's rough to see this, but Chessie can't really do anything about Ben-Hur. Yes, compLexity did pick up a number of kills, but Ben-Hur is still free farming away. He's going to have his Diffusal Blade soon, and he's reaching a point where compLexity have to get like perfect initiations in order to stop this carry.
Yeah, for a second it looked like that was actually going to go okay for Mineski just because they went on the bottom lane because they saw the 2 heroes smoked up. They knew there was no way there was going to be support there, but Raging Potato playing a little bit too over-aggressively with that invis. And they've got to be careful because now that they know the Axe has this Blink Dagger, the counter initiation is going to be really strong for compLexity.
As you said, Cap, that diffusal all done now for Ben-Hur, ready for the next one. And we are going to see bottom lane, Jesse Vash coming in. He's on his own at the moment, still 20 seconds for the Death Ward. As Z-Freak starts to push on the tower, he has got the backup of the Lich round the corner.
Blitz, you see this build from Z-Freak? Going the Shadow Blade that you like so much. I think this is a really important pickup. The differentiation between Blink Dagger and Shadow Blade is that Shadow Blade is way better in initiating on a hero like Phantom Lancer. Obviously, you have that Doppelganger, it's quick reaction spells, so you need that like perfect initiation essentially, and Blink Dagger doesn't offer that.
Yeah, you can set up really easily with this item, but I don't know, it still feels a little bit late, and more importantly, I think this Slardar just needs more farm, because even just with the bare bones Blink Dagger, I don't know how much impact he's going to have.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Well,
Well, at least he picks up the tier 1 tower, so hopefully that speeds up the Shadow Blades. Maybe we can see it by like 24 minutes. The danger is going to be Mineski. They're far enough ahead that they can forward counter vision, maybe even get a gem to start controlling the map as well as deal with Z-Freak's initiations.
Mineski, I mean, do they want to try and fight this? There's 3 members of complexity around. They do have Jesse Vash, though, around the corner. Mineski,
gonna
they're
fight
going to jump in
Swindles.
on Swindles. Straight away, just eyeing out the situation. Jesse Vash coming in and now bot with the TP. Down onto Swindles. They'll manage to get themselves the Slardar at least. Can they find themselves any more? Z-Freak will just be able to TP out in time, but Mineski, again, just controlling the map and making sure the complexity, just they can't feel safe coming over to the Radiant at this point.
I know it was a simple like one-off pickup, but just watch the way that Jules plays these kind of team fights. He doesn't know if there's going to be like a bunch of complexity members counter-initiating on that Slardar, and watch how he goes in and out constantly as a Night Stalker, and that's really the optimal play. He gets in there, pops a void, backs up a little bit, and they're keeping their spacing really good, which is why their aggression is working out so well. They're never actually staying too clumped up. Even though like complexity do have some really good AoE abilities to punish, they just can never get a good hold on more than 1 or 2 heroes at most.
I think Bocarino should TP top and apply pressure to that tower so you can see where complexity is exactly. They're going to flash the Invoker at bottom, but it doesn't tell them too much just because if the rest of the team were at top, he could just Sunstrike to help out, but I think this is what Nature's Prophet does best, is his ability to put pressure on the map, guarantee for his team where the enemy team is, and maybe if he gets somebody to rotate up there, they can take the Roshan for themselves.
Yeah, if you have the option, there's no point to actually take a full 5 versus 5 when you're ahead like this and you have a good split pusher. So I completely agree with Blitz. It looks like that's exactly what Bocarino's going to be doing here. He just wanted to finish up his Orchid, so in case there was some sort of trap up there in the top lane, maybe there was some like smoke rotation or something, waiting for a Furion. Because the thing is, you need to be able to punish a Furion when he goes for those split pushes. So he's playing a little careful around that. Goes, I just want to finish up my Orchid. That timing is pretty key. That, and then I can start maybe aggressively going for those tier 2 towers.
Yeah, I think bare minimum, you just send the Treants up there and push in the tower, because now they know for a fact at top, nobody's dealing with the summons, and the longer that complexity allows this to happen, the more that Mineski knows something is up, as all heroes crowding around this mid lane.
If you've already conceded all your tier 1 towers by 20 minutes, you can't really afford to give up some of your tier 2s for free. Even just chip damage plays against you pretty heavily. And you see, now Raging Potato, now that they see that read, okay, nobody's top, he's going to go for that tier 2, and they may even gladly trade away their tier 1 mid. It's an important tower, but this late into the game, it's fine giving it up.
Yeah, especially with it being so low.
We'll see the jumps being made by Swindles, will jump through, but Jesse gets out the last one level, still going to do him out onto Ben. Now with the get from the sidelines, the chain flush will try and cancel it, and already Mineski losing 1, losing 2, is double kill for Limb as he comes down hard with the dunk. Can they get themselves anything more? Up to the high ground, Haskin gets the snow onto Bocarino. Can they find the catch out here? And they'll jump forward on Limb. Look at the control, and there's the jump in for Swindles, gets the crush down, and a 3rd kill for complexity. Mineski losing it a little bit there in the mid lane. As you said, the trade in towers was made. The complexity as well, just jumping straight past and looking for the actions right off the back of it.
This is purely going to be a decision game from Mineski. They need to be able to make the right decisions because they have all the information in the world. They have an Axe Gem Night Stalker. They really should not be caught out in those mid lane scenarios.
Yeah, Jules is going to spot this out, but this is going to go down way too quickly. And Mineski have been in solid control of the game up until this point, and I completely agree with that decision to not defend that mid tower. I think your team just isn't very tanky. Complexity, they still have the jump and they've got enough burst damage, and with the Doom eliminating a hero and taking out his net worth, it evens things out really easily for them, and giving up the Roshan, that was kind of the whole point of Mineski's, the way that they were playing so far, especially with the Axe Night Stalker, just denying that ability to go for it easily, pushing in that top tower with that Queen of Pain, but
and now look where Limp is. Once upon a time we were talking about like, oh man, he had Vanguard, no Blink still. Now he's got a Blink and a BKB. This means he can deal with the Phantom Lancer a lot easier, doesn't have to worry about as much with the Diffusal Blade. You've got other things like the Night Stalker Silence, which is pretty obnoxious. It's Night Stalker, like Jules is playing incredibly well, and I'm going to anticipate that he's going to be looking to stop the initiations or follow-up initiations from one of these 2 Blink heroes.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, talking about the fact that you have got this Axe Gem on the Night Stalker, I mean, how does Z-Freak play around this with the Shadow Blade? I mean, catching out the PL, you talked about how that is a better item in this situation than the Blink because of the cast time. I mean, surely that's just going to be so hard to pull off now with this Night Stalker.
Don't run into him. Somehow, some way.
hey, more than anything, what Z-Freak is looking for is just opportunities to find solo heroes. It doesn't even have to be the Phantom Lancer, but Something that's gone wrong for Mineski so far is because they've got both the Orchids, they need to start the fights. If they get jumped on, they've got an 1100 HP Queen of Pain. She's going to go down really quickly with the Slaughter's amp damage without the BKB available to her. And with Ben-Hur getting doomed, getting rid of a hero that has so much of your net worth, you've got to be careful for Mineski.
In your opinion, which one was the wrong pickup in your mind? If you don't want to see two Orchids, would you rather have seen the Ags on the Queen of Pain or like a right-click build like Maelstrom from Bokarina? Or maybe even an Ags? Maybe this is the kind of game where you can maximize split push to punish complexity.
I think Raging Potato had to build a little bit tankier. I would have been okay with the Ags. Ultimately, it was okay. He was able to get some kills on it, but now that the pace is kind of slowed down in complexity or 5-manning, the effectiveness of this item on Queen of Pain kind of dies down a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of the decision-making going into picking up an item like Orchid is some of your lane phase.
This is what we were talking about.
Indeed, Z-Freak closing the gap here with a Shadow Blade, drops the Doom down, the drums are popped as well, a look for the chase down, the Sunstrike, it's going to connect to Bokarino. No way out of this one, he'll get taken down. Raging Potato is there with the turnaround, walking onto Z-Freak, a Sonic Wave as well, it's enough there. Coming in with a Soul Burn, brings down the Doom. So they will manage to punish Z-Freak, but that is losing Bokarino and a man who's doing the best at the moment on the board, top of the net worth, so a big kill for complexity.
They might even get more here.
Swindles, and he goes with the crush, they'll time it nicely with the berserker. Chainsaw's coming through the board, it's going to do enough there. Swindles taking so much, he's going to pop. Oh, he gets the dunk, and can he get Jesse as well? Definitely runs into the tree line, double kill for Limpus, he clears out another. And again, complexity starting to find these trades that are definitely favoring them.
I wasn't sure if they were going to have enough damage with that initiation. Even the initiation, they was like quarter second from being able to get the chain stun of Swindle's Crush into the Berserker's Call like that. That was margin errors there, but complexity do manage to walk away with a great win, couple of pickoffs, take a tier 1 tower. They're really making their way back into this game very rapidly. Look at the way the net worth, his graph has just spiraled downwards so quickly. And it all leads, I think, into that first mistake from that mid lane. The choice to try and stick around and maybe try and defend that tier 1 tower and end up taking a bad fight.
Yeah, they've got to wait for the nighttime, probably the BKB onto their Queen of Pain before they get aggressive again. Jesse Vash, not really going to wait for the Ags or anything like that, way too far away. You've got a Vlad's coming up on your Night Stalker. When it comes to map movement, the Nature's Prophet, what you usually want to do with this hero, Owen, is you want to put pressure on that top lane to kind of figure out where heroes are, send the Treants in at all times to kind of just scout around for you, but you can't really do that now that the Doom has the Shadow Blade.
Yeah, it was supposed to be an information game constantly for Mineski. They should have always been able to know more about complexity than complexity knew about them between these two heroes, the NP
Again,
and the Furion. And
we've
now
seen this all before. He's trying for the Z-Freak. Actually not going to go for this one. Backing up, maybe a little bit too scared of more being there as Night Stalker did call in the ultimate. So just aware that Mineski could have been around the corner to turn that one around on him. So just safe plays here.
Yeah, complexity, they're in a pretty good spot right now. They don't want to give away whatever they have so far. They've got good momentum on their side. That's the most important thing. You saw how hyped Mineski were getting, and again, that's what I caution against, right? Is if you get a little bit too over-aggressive, you decide you're going to take all of these fights, all it takes is one for complexity to get back into this game.
I mean, considering it indeed just the laning stage, complexity have really got back into this. I mean, at the start, we were seeing Mineski, 4 heroes at the top, but each of these pickoffs, each of these kills is certainly bringing complexity back in, and as we can see, just looking for a push on the bottom. Looking to get that tier 2, and Mineski are not going to look to hold this one. They're almost only just going to wait for a high ground defense. And I mean, how good is the high ground defense of Mineski here against the pushing power of complexity?
I think it's kind of mediocre. It's okay. They don't have the best wave clear. They don't have the Ags on top or anything like that, but I don't think complexity want to go high ground like this. I think they're completely comfortable with the pace of the game anyways, just because you're starting to see a trend with Mineski. Their lineup post 25 minutes is how do they initiate a fight? They don't have one of those instant stuns or disables like the Axe Blink Call or the Slaughter Blink Stun, right? You've got a Night Stalker that pretty much just has to run at you and 2 Orchids.
And it's going to be a long time before we start talking about sight devices for both the Furion and the Queen of Pain. So I agree with Blitz. I think that complexity at this point should be trying to slow down the game, look for that next Roshan, and then that's going to be their opportunity to push high ground. Because they don't have the great high ground heroes as is, so you need every advantage you could possibly get.
And it certainly does seem to be that case. The pace just slowing down at the moment. We'll see how proactive Mineski will be to try and find some. They do smoke up, but
when they play passive, they have to stay grouped up though, because the Night Stalker is going to be hunting for those solo pickoffs, just the way that Z-Freak was doing it. So notice the way that complexity, they back away, they push out some of the lanes as they pass by, but they're usually staying grouped up and staying close to their base.
And they want to make sure that whatever fight they get into, it's going to be a straight 5-on-5. Swindle's starting to finally pick up some farm on his own, and Z-Freak, he's going to find Jesse Vash at top.
Indeed, Jesse Vash trying to juke it out here. Z-Freak is going to look for the chase down. Limp's coming through as well, and Jesse all alone. They'll get themselves another one here. compLexity dunk from Limp to seal the deal. And this axe pick off, where it might have suffered a little bit in the laning stage, it certainly seems to be working out in a game that's kind of this chaotic. I mean, he's really picked it up in 8 kills at the moment on the big red map.
And this is where you see like larger like international experience really come into play, is that a more experienced team is oftentimes just going to have better movement around the map going mid to late game. They're just more experienced with these kind of scenarios, and it's completely showing. compLexity have gotten how many pickoffs now in a row, you know, up against Mineski, who'll have an Ags Gem Night Stalker. It really shouldn't be feasible that Doom repeatedly goes out with a Shadow Blade and doesn't get punished like this, but compLexity are just making really good reads about Mineski's movements.
Yeah, absolutely. As we saw on the graph, I think in the last 10 minutes, Mineski have found 2 kills, whereas compLexity have found, I think it's about 10 there, by the looks of it. So 3 in about 11 or so. So he's definitely swinging back around for compLexity. Mineski, I mean, how do they do something at Blitz in this kind of situation where we've seen the compLexity, they're managing to deal with the aggression of Mineski, they're slowing down the pace. Do Mineski just need to be constantly proactive, looking to smoke up? I mean, when Roche comes back up, do they go for the Aegis first, or do you wait for compLexity to do it and then you try and jump in at the final moment?
I think you absolutely can't give up the Aegis advantage again against compLexity's lineup. I think a pretty good move for them to make would be to bait things with the Academy's Night Stalker, have him kind of hover around, scout out for Z-Freak before he can get the Doom off and you play the chance game, and then just have Mineski swarm in. But it's a small sample size, but even the game against Liquid where they had that early game advantage built up, and so far in this game too, it doesn't feel like they know what the next plan is, like where the direction goes after a certain point. At some point, you just can't keep killing heroes and running at them. You have to have the game plan overall set in your brain.
You can see compLexity kind of feather footing it around at the top, not ready to fully commit, and with the ultimate from Night Stalker, summoning the darkness, Mineski, they would be in a position to jump, but compLexity, they're just playing it safe. They hover around the top lane, clear out a few waves, back up, Chessie's on the bottom, just farming up as well, and compLexity, as you said, exactly what they need to do, just making sure that they don't give anything away to Mineski now, and just managing to climb back up in terms of value and overall net worth. It's starting to go back over to the side of compLexity now at this point.
One of the big reasons we're willing to give compLexity a larger swath of time than perhaps original predictions is because of the fact that the Phantom Lancer is actually rather far behind in net worth. He's sitting well below the Doom even, like he's middle ground. And that just cannot happen for your primary carry like this. And this just means we're prolonging the time where the Axe and Slardar and even the Doom in some ways are really effective versus a Phantom Lancer, just because he has so little HP. If they actually get that initiation, he's done for. He's got the Manta now, but it's only once you start looking at like things like the Heart where the Phantom Lancer becomes a really big problem in team fights late game.
I think this is a really good opportunity to go for Roshan. They know for a fact that there's no nighttime coming up anytime soon. The cooldown is still there for the Night Stalker. And Mineski, they can't fight without vision, but it's kind of a weird lose-lose scenario where Mineski sort of have to give it up, but that might just be in high ground, but they're going to contest this. They're going to go for the smoke. Big disadvantage here is they don't have nighttime, and Aegis is already going to go up with them.
Now Mineski's just backing him straight away. They don't want to fight into that one. They've got to be careful. compLexity, they certainly do. As soon as the Aegis is picked up, we can see with this wrap around. Going towards the mid lane, Mineski nicely heading themselves away here. We'll see if compLexity can continue to chase. You've got Bocarino.
Oh, they know their nature's proper.
Yeah, they got his ward up there. Oh, and straight up. Swindle jumps in. Out comes the Amplifier. No escape for this Nature's Prophet. That's what you get for Cliff jungling.
I think Mineski really hoping that there was going to be one hero that rotates up to the top lane and then we get the pick off.
Ooh. Very lucky that call was just off point. Very lucky for the PR.
Night Stalker got to pop his nighttime just to get out of here. Wants to see where Z-Freak's going, and the Queen of Pain's still showing in top. She's got to be careful. Blink her way up, and Z-Freak's going to give up on the chase, but even giving up a hero like that, I think Mineski, they didn't have, well, clearly they had no idea that the ward was going to be there. They didn't really know when compLexity even got that ward up there in the first place. Like, Bocarino thought he was being cute by being...
Swindle, BKB in and out there. No point messing around, and just in case they have more there.
probably just push out the lanes if you're compLexity and then just go for the high ground. Like the pace of the game has devolved to the point where Mineski, I don't really know what their move is aside from just holding high ground and hoping that compLexity get over aggressive.
Yeah, the best you could possibly hope for at this point is maybe going for a pickoff when you, like, compLexity have to get some map control, so they're going to split up a little bit, they're going to push out these lanes. Maybe you get a pickoff, but it just seems so unlikely, especially when it goes back to daytime like this, so... seems like Mineski have no other option but waiting for defending high ground.
Phantom Lancer just poking away at Ancients. Not a lot of options for his team to farm right now as they still have the ward up there.
I was going to say, not being taken down, yeah. Raging. Up he goes, Swindle. Ah, there we go, there's the D-Ward, but Swindle still jump in, get the crush. Do they have the control on Potato? He'll put the BKB in, on with the Pure for the Surge Strike. compLexity bursting down Raging Potato. And now seeing if they can find more Limp. Chasing down, Jesse Bash in a lot of trouble here. The Tornado catching out the Witch Doctor compLexity. Looking for a second and they'll find it. Wicked stick now for the Axe. And we're really closing in on the kills. 24 to 21 compLexity. Pretty much all but just removed that advantage that Mineski had at the start of this game.
I mean, things are just getting really sloppy right now. Like, they knew the ward was up there just because the Sword Art blind stun onto the Nature's Prophet. Then they send their Queen of Pain just kind of blindly up there. She gets killed. They lose an additional hero on top of that, and which is likely just going to be a mid-rax.
Their high ground defense is just not very good. When you have certain heroes like, for example, the Witch Doctor, his Death Ward and Cask is kind of scary, but you've got Chainbuster.
Oh, jumping in, compLexity, they want to try and take this fight 3v5. They see the opening of the flash Jules. He's gone, he will buy back straight away at Bocarino, turning around with the BKB in. BKB a TP out just in front of the tier 4s. And they will at the least manage to force back compLexity. They won't lose Rex in the mid lane, but it does cost them that buyback on the Night Stalker.
If only Z-Freak had been able to drop the Quelling Blade faster and pick up the, steal the gem away from Mineski.
Bocarino.
He's got a force down still. So Hanskin should be okay. And
he's going to turn it around. I mean, Swindle's coming around the corner. Boca, he could have come in a little bit too deep, but he has. He goes down, Swindle, jumping across the Tornado to fall for his one. Wait, Potato pops the Sonic Wave. It's a nice one, but it's just not quite enough at this point of the game. Jesse fully load the cast, bouncing through the Death Wall for the high ground and put the Aegis there on the Invoker. Swindle's being confused, played up by Ben. The boy from Night Stalker finishing down the Slardar. There's a buyback for Nature's Prophet, looking to come back in. Limp, man fighting up against Bocarino, raging with a scream onto two on the sidelines. Mineski, Bernard jumping in, and he'll find himself a double with the help of Jules. They'll get themselves a second and maybe a third. Z-Freak and a mana potentially out of luck as well. Mineski looking to turn this one around, and they will. Another kill for the side. And again, buyback used, this time by the Nature's Prophet, but it does secure them that fight there, maybe. But they actually find themselves another one. Chessie caught up. That's for the Invoker, but he's been silenced just in time, and here comes the rest of the side, and they've done it! Mineski, for the last 10 minutes or so, seem to be falling behind, but a fight like that brings them straight back into it. Huge casualties for compLexity.
That was a great read by Mineski, knowing that they had to buy back and they had to take that fight kind of no matter what. You were just going to get chipped down eventually, and not allowing compLexity to be able to perform another high ground push.
You've got to be careful about going for this, though. The buybacks are available, and Limp can catch them off really easily. These heroes aren't exactly healthy.
Yeah,
they're just going to back themselves away, but like you said, they want to get more, especially with Bocarino's commitment to that buyback.
I mean, at the least, of course, getting that buyback out of Chessie top lane. What's in? Chessie, he's pulled back.
BKB,
and they will not punish this again. The Sun Strike and the swirl there. Spinning around, Limp and Chessie to find themselves another. Ben coming through. Maybe they could try and punish this Axe. Jessie's around the corner. They do have a Death Ward up as well. Raging Potato there as well as Jules, the whole gang. But Limp pots the BKB. Chessie coming back. Is he going to try and get himself in position to commit, or is he just going to sack the Axe? He's hiding on the sidelines. Potato jumping forward. The BKB now run out for Limp. EMP from the high ground will catch him. Meteor down. There's a Death Ward. But Limp, look how tanky this man is. It looks like it will still go down, but only just. And they do lose the Nature's Prophet there, so on that extended death timer because of the buyback earlier. But they do punish the Axe, and he's dead for 70 seconds here. So it's, I guess this is fine for Mineski that says the compLexity. I mean, they look like they're going to look for something. Is this still the call to do with an Axe down?
I think so. They just don't want to get over aggressive because they know that the Nature's Prophet can't buy back and help out. He's one of their higher net worth heroes. They are steadily getting some measure of farm now on their Phantom Lancer, and so it's not as dire as it used to be at one point. He was 5th or 6th in net worth, but now first on his team, 3rd overall.
He's still playing the sit back and lance, and maybe occasionally he'll run in and right-click a support or something in these team fights. So it's still like kind of that point where Phantom Lancer, he's beginning to become like, yeah, more and more of a factor in these team fights. But it's only once he becomes truly tanky that he can make those kind of heavy commitments that compLexity are going to be in serious trouble.
You have to realize too that the burden to end the game is on compLexity. They have a one-position axe. Their Slaughter isn't going to exactly scale too well. He's got the BKB, but he's steadily running out of charges.
I was across the board. There must be, because these BKBs were rather early in the build-up. You know, for all the cores, I imagine they're getting kind of like Invokers. Still fairly recent. Okay, is it just the axes and Ennis is down to 8? But yeah, as you said, axes down to 7. They've got to be careful. I mean, yeah, the fights go on. Mineski each and every time. They're certainly holding in. They've not lost a set of racks yet, even though there was that pretty scary push from compLexity a few minutes ago in the mid lane. They managed to hold on here, and I mean, this game 40 minutes in, it's looking fairly close now again.
For a second, it just looked like compLexity were going to roll, bulldoze through. They had the Aegis, the Invoker had the Aegis on him. They were going high ground. They had picked off a hero previously too. They forced the buyback, and if they could have gone away cleanly, it would have been perfectly fine. But Mineski, killer instinct, they just kind of run in. They knew they had to get more out of it there. There we go as compLexity. They know they have to take the fight.
The problem with this smoke is compLexity are having all of their lanes pushed in. Bottom is being pushed in by the illusions. You see mid is just past the river and going forward, and top lane is pushing forward quite heavily thanks to the Furion. It's hard to get the map control to make you feel comfortable.
Please don't die here again.
No, come on.
Are they going to get, Buccarino. He's going to get taken down, and he's dead for 80. And the thing is as well, I think we did see Jules on the mini-map draw a line away from the cliff saying Nature's Prophet, get back to base, but Bok just ignored him. And it's another, that's a big kill there for the side of compLexity, because they could be ready to try and find something more here now.
compLexity, I mean, cliff jungling, man. It doesn't just lose you pubs. It can lose you other games as well.
He's got to feel so bad about that one. Like, I don't even know what to say about that.
Will he go back up there again this game, Blitz?
No, that is like the traumatic spot. He's learned his lesson, never going to touch that again. It's like
probably going to avoid all the areas around it too. Like, he'll never go to the secret shop ever again. Like, he'll go to Dire side secret shop if he needs to go.
I mean, this is good as well. compLexity seeing the advantage. They're going to go for Roshan. I mean, Mineski.
They've got nighttime.
Yeah, they've got nighttime. Maybe they could try and do something to disrupt themselves. And the illusions in Cedar is fairly low.
He's getting low.
They can steal the Aegis, maybe.
Oh, jumping in, get it. Oh, no, he doesn't. Chessie picks it up in time. For the cheese. Sonic Wave coming out, Chessie. Aegis now off his hands.
Oh, and he stole the jumps too. He actually took Chessie's jumps and blinked out.
And bottom lane Limp just trying to chase down Jesse. Jesse's going to go for the TP out, but the Shane Frost will come through. Cancel that one at the same time. While still kicking off his Swindles. Goes on to Ben. There's the Doom as well. And this PL receiving a whole world of hate from compLexity. It's a great rush. That they do go for that attempt there on the steal. And as you said, they get the drums, they get the cheese. Still not enough here for Mineski, and just fighting there without the Nature's Prophet, who's now back. Now trying to man fight against Jesse, but can't really do any more. And in fact, he may be the one in trouble because the BKB about to wear out, and Limp is not going to commit for this one. Well, looks a bit the Sprout. It's been laid down, but Limp, now he's coming back in. Tornado. Oh, it's on point. Jesse catching out the MP, and there's Limp as well. And again, it just feels like Bok on this Nature's Prophet, who's having a great start this game, but he's really starting to falter now.
Yeah, it almost feels like he needs a blink dagger or something just to be able to, you know, give him that extra bit of movement around the map and stay ahead of compLexity when they try and hunt him down. But compLexity, again, it seems like Roshan is just kind of their lucky charm. They're going to turn a Roshan fight into pushing high ground, and this, I wouldn't say it's do or die, but it's really essential for them to take a lane of racks here.
PL does have the buyback available, but probably not going to want to use it 20 seconds. They'll probably just have to sack this one, especially with the MP still down.
Yeah, without the Nature's Prophet and 5 heroes filtering in, there's no reason for the Phantom Lancer to buy back. But Mineski, they really don't want to give up 2 sets of racks. It opens up the map a little bit too much, and all it takes after that point is just one pickoff for a compLexity to go for the Mega Creeps.
compLexity should know, guaranteed, that Furion doesn't have a buyback for another 10 seconds. So that's why they felt comfortable pushing that tier 3.
And they will indeed get it. Backing up. The question is, can Mineski try and punish this already, Cole? Just TPing out. They're trying to chase up, but they're not nearly on point, but the TP was already done. Still chasing, but all these blinks from compLexity, I mean, very hard team to catch out, and they're out there.
I did not actually expect this Ags on Lich. You don't see this item too often, but it's nice.
I mean, literally, he's certainly been picking up. We haven't really seen any fights where there's been a lot of bounces, so the unlimited portion of the upgrade doesn't seem to be maybe too key, but maybe in these high ground pushes, he's going to force Mineski to be much more careful about their positioning.
I mean, with the Phantom Lancer on the field, you never know. It could just keep on bouncing around between those illusions and keep on going no matter what.
The 45-minute radius, I mean, why not?
The miss percentage chance is actually like really impactful.
Especially against the Phantom Lancer. I think it makes a lot of sense.
He is not a hero that wants to go MKB. There are certain carries in the game that are really exploited by miss percentage or evasion, and Phantom Lancer is definitely one of those.
And now compLexity, they're just waiting for all of their items to filter in. They've got so many things coming in. The Invoker now has the buyback refreshed. Got the Radiance completed on the Doom, like we mentioned. Not a whole lot else that they have to wait for. If they want, they can kind of slow things down. Maybe look for a pickoff using Z-Freak once again. Maybe just wait for the Roshan, but not really in a position where they have to do anything desperate.
Well, we'll see indeed what the call is going to be. They're coming up to this top lane. Jules hanging around on the Night Stalker. It is alone, but just hang around, try and get some of that intel, that vision here for Mineski during this night time, so they know for sure what's up.
Again, missing that like really hard disable is costing Mineski a lot of opportunities, I think. One of the biggest problems in this next fight is going to be the Invoker is actually more of a carry than anything else, and he's one of the most dangerous heroes super late game when he has that refresher. You know, you've got double Ravage essentially with a whole swarm of damage surrounding it. So they need to be able to somehow deal with that Invoker, but he's got BKB. So if they ever try and initiate with an Orchid or something, he just pops a BKB. He takes advantage that you initiated onto him, and you get blown up. They really needed like a hard side to have an opportunity to take out that damage dealer first.
I mean, so looking at the MP at the moment, the courier for the Radiant, he just went out to the shop, but how close is he to having that the Hexo? Is he just the recipe that he's got? I was with Mione, so he's opting for that.
Yeah. Neither one of our intelligence cores are going for a side.
I really think that the Nature thought that at bare minimum needed it. It's not really damage that they lack.
Oh, here we go, Lim jumping in, quarter two, BKB came out just in time from MP, Deathing Block with Jesse, they'll pop down the death board, it is planning through them here, Jesse back get away with him, Swindle just moves forward, Solid Wave flies through, they've lost the block on the Nature's Robin, but he'll buy back, looking for more Jules, doomed up, but he's going to be able to tank it out, get himself back to base, there's still one down, just this Witch Doctor off the map at the moment, Rax falling pretty quickly, Z-Freak on his way out, and they're getting silenced, now forced away, it's going to be fine, they'll catch out Hanskin, Mineski, can they punish the lead for Swindle, coming back in with a crush, Limbo as well with a call on to two, Bond, he's going to go down to die back on the Nature's Prophet, Jules, trying to get himself out, but he's gone as well, Mega kills for Jesse and Raging Potato, only just able to blink himself out to the side, but Mineski 3 down, no buybacks available, they're going to lose the top set of Rex, maybe even more.
Yeah, compLexity, I think they honestly can almost think about just going because they're so tanky on the rest of their heroes, and Mineski are just lacking damage. Now they found Reggie Potato, he's going to get picked off. That was only the Phantom Lancer, that just all but assures that the bottom lane of Rax is going to go down as well, meaning Megas for compLexity.
PL and the Witch Doctor, the last two men standing here for Mineski. Can they do it? I mean, compLexity clearing out the Megas, and GG is called. Mineski here in game one, showing us their power in the early game. But a lack of decision making seems to punish them in the mid game. They did manage to bring it back a little bit, but compLexity at the end of the day, they've turned it right up.
I mean, it really felt like they had a really good game plan going into the early and mid game, and they were feeling the hype of the crowd. They weren't really making a lot of mistakes. Then that mid-fight happened. It just felt like after that happened, their confidence just went straight down. They didn't really know what to do after that point. We saw 2 or 3
I mean, it started off with a bang. Started off with a bang for Mineski, 100%.
A big bang, in fact. It was the crowd especially. We were sitting backstage and I was still shaking. It was amazing from the crowd, but yeah, I thought Mineski had that actually. Invoker had the eighth net worth on the board, and Axe doesn't typically scale very well. They had a very early Aghanim Scepter on Jules on the Night Stalker. I thought for sure they had that game, and then it just sort of stagnated. They didn't use that aggression anymore, and whenever they then started fighting, they just kept on dying to compLexity, who also looked a bit shaken up, maybe because of the crowd.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone could deny we saw, I mean, even the community could just hear it very clearly and that the energy was alive here. But the beginning of the game was exactly like you guys said. I mean, this Mineski lineup, the way the draft happened, like they could be anywhere at any time, and if anything, more so than you guys predicted. They were constantly just everywhere, getting kills, getting double kills, getting triples. And then at a certain moment, we were sitting back and we were like, all right, what happened? It's just so quiet, like both in-game and in the arena, where the action just died out for Mineski.
Yeah, that's the problem with the style that they played. It's really good for aggression at the start. It throws your opponents off guard because they're doing weird things. They're places where you don't normally expect teams to be. But then at some point you have to scale that back and you have to say, okay, we just got a huge advantage. We have Night Stalker Eggs on support at 20 minutes, and then you have to play standard. And the problem, I think, was that Mineski kept playing like that, and they finally lost that one team fight mid, and it made the game more stagnant, like you saw. And eventually compLexity got more and more kills.
Yeah, we have a couple of these replays coming out. And again, the first few are going to be Mineski focused. I mean, they caught out the right people. They were just all there at the same time. The communication was clearly there, like you said. And then at a certain point, stops happening. And then, of course, also something you guys mentioned, that the Roshan could be done real quick. And compLexity, as soon as they got that one fight where they were like, all right, this is where it happens, and they just kept getting that Roshan. And then, you know, we didn't see Mineski really find that weakness. I mean, they had that one fight. We'll see that replay come up, I think, halfway through one of these, where they did get 4 kills, and they were like, okay, maybe the energy goes back in favor, but Ben, I mean, compLexity, they were, I guess, maybe patient enough? Is that the way you put it, or is it more on Mineski that they just kind of lost that steam?
I think Mineski just lost focus. I didn't really like the trade where they traded the top T2 for this tower, and then PL dies, 2 other heroes die, and then, as you said, they swing right in a rush. They have a Slardar, and then they have an Invoker. Invoker can do it alone, and then when you have the Slardar, it just becomes trivial for them. And Mineski, I think, should have concentrated a little bit more around that, especially with the Night Stalker Ags. I thought, yeah, I was with Jacob too. It's like, once I saw that Ags, I was like, how are compLexity ever supposed to move around the map? How are they supposed to get kills with their Blink Daggers? But Mineski kind of just gave too many kills to them in the mid game.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part of it, because they really should have just kept on the aggression, because their heroes don't really scale well up against Axe and Slardar and Doom going into the late game. These targets takes a long time to take down. The Nature's Prophet especially can't really just man-fight any of these heroes. He needs to stand from a distance and everything. And then that's where Invoker starts shining, right? When he gets a full inventory, there's basically nothing this lineup can do against it. Even with a Phantom Lancer, it was just inevitable that they would lose. I was impressed with how much farm the Axe picked up despite dying a lot. He actually had a very early Vanguard, and then the Blink Dagger came almost immediately after, so I think he was the saving grace for them in the early game, because they kept dying all over the map. At one point, they lost 3 heroes on 3 different spots.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the observer of that game. I think Pimpmargle did a great job following those kills around.
Yeah, the other player that played really well in the early game was Z-Freak on Doom. I mean, he had a great KDA. He really impressed me with his play. I just want to go home and play Doom now, and I'm sure a lot of other people watching this feel the same way. He just got so much done in the early game, tons of kills. Him and Axe really held the early game together. They got to the mid game where they could win some team fights, and then late game was completely secured by Chessie on the Invoker. I just feel like all of their fights were very good skill usage. Tons of Sunstrikes after the follow-up chain stun always led to a kill and allowed them to snowball through the rest of the team.
Now, obviously, there's 2 sides to every game, but since we're here in Manila, I want to focus a little bit on Mineski then. Like you guys were talking about, the crowd loves to hear about Mineski too. So, is it then, like, that's their only option, is to play that aggressive style, and, like, it's just a high risk, high reward where you can't make a mistake? Or do you think there's some other weaknesses they can employ against compLexity here?
I think they needed more contingency plans, because they waited too long for the BKBs. They didn't have a solution to the BKBs. A PL with Diffusal is not a good solution at all, especially when they built a lot of armor. I think one thing they could have focused on a little bit more is perhaps like Ags on the Witch Doctor, who had like 3,000 net worth at the end of the game and had to go for an Aether Lens, because that would have been able to do a lot of the damage because they're usually initiating on the PL or the Queen of Pain, and they just didn't really have, that backup plan at all.
That's a good point. They did have a lot of long channel death ward ultis. If that was an X, it really could have turned a lot of those fights around. Even with the ice armor counteracting a lot of that physical damage, might have been a good solution. But he seemed very sacrificed the whole game.
Yeah.
At the same time, when the aggression sort of fizzled out, that's where they should have kept it up instead. They hit this giant power spike with the 4-position Night Stalker when he gets an Aghanim Scepter, right? And that's where they actually stop trying to kill complexity. And whenever they do try, it's the lack of discipline that costs them some of these deaths that just allows complexity to get back into the game. The Invoker just gets free farm. As some of the casters pointed out, they shouldn't even be able to leave their base when he gets that, and they did so freely as well. They picked up kills around Mineski's side of the map, and that shouldn't happen against a Night Stalker.
Yeah, they were. As soon as that tide turned, it was all more so on the Reign side rather than as it was before, where it was starting to push towards complexity. So when you say contingency, is it more in their attitude and their planning, or, I mean, probably as always starting from the draft?
I think they stagnated a little bit at some points in the game. There was that period of time where you'd see all these Nature's Prophet Treants pushing the tier 2 tower bot, and Chessie would be there, he'd drop the meatball, boom, he gets like 10 last hits, something like that. They needed to pressure those lanes and then initiate somewhere else, if possible, but the game got very weird due to complexity utilizing all those boots of travel and being more mobile somehow on the map. So I think it's just they needed better decision making and better discipline while they're in the game to find those kills and win a team fight, get Roshan. Take a Rex.
All right, well, Manila, you heard our experts here on the panel, the discipline, the patience they needed. They need the confidence. Manila, are you ready to cheer for Mineski as we get ready for game 2? All right, well, keep that energy up. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we'll be jumping right into the draft for game number 2 to see if Mineski can bring it back.
Whichever side you're on, enjoy the year's epic showdown with Smart Big Bites 50. Register for 3 days of free videos, mobile surfing, and more, plus the chance to win the ultimate Superman and Batman experience and cool collectibles.
Do you bleed? You will.
Side with Smart.
Get your team apparel now at shop.eslgaming.com.
G2A.com, the best video game store ever! Fast as lightning, solid as a rock, cheap as duck! What's more, you can sell on it because it's also a marketplace. Remember G2A.com, the best video game store ever!
for Game 2 here in the Philippines for ESL One. as we stand in the Mall of Asia Arena. Can Mineski bring it back, or will compLexity continue their stride to play one more time for a shot to play on Sunday in the semifinals and hopefully all the way to the championships? Earlier we talked about game one, reviewed a little bit, talked about what Mineski needs to do a little bit more. Is there anything though, I mean, let's give compLexity a little bit of spotlight. I know we're in the Philippines, but is there anything you'd like to see more from them that you thought was a little lacking, or did you think, hey, you know what, they accepted, what was coming pretty well. They assessed the situation and they played it as, best as they could.
I think they got a bit shocked with how aggressive.
Caught off guard a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they were prepared for Mineski just coming at them the way they did, and I think they felt Axe, Lich, these are heroes that can probably stand up to them in the early game, and they just couldn't. Slardar died constantly, when he turned on sprint, that was a death. Ben and I talked a lot about how he, when he got denied by the Axe at the tier 2 tower, we're pretty confident that he turned on sprint while being shadow struck.
I'm not confident on that one. I think he did that on purpose, personally. I think he was going to die either way. That's very arguable, but I think...
He purposely wanted to die.
Yeah. He's like, kill me.
Sounds like a Purge thing.
I think either way, compLexity didn't deal with the super aggression in the laning stage. If the lanes were standard the way they were, I think they would have been semi-fine. Like, they maybe would have gotten killed a little bit more than they killed, but it was definitely Mineski running over them. So I think they played a little overconfident. They obviously had the skill to bring it back, so I have a lot of faith in them being able to do that again if it does happen, but they could have been a little bit safer in the early game.
Right, but it's more of like a awareness thing where it's like, okay, now they got it, they figured it out, so hopefully, you would expect them not to make those same mistakes. Well, we are underway in the draft for game number 2.
So I was about to say, I think the trade-off in the first 4 picks is very important to how strong compLexity's lineup is going to look, because the Axe and the starter pick are not the most traditional picks, so it actually made the lineup look weaker than it was initially when the picking bans ended. But just the fact that they had the Invoker and the Doom made it so much easier for them to get back into that game, because these two heroes are just so very strong at the present time.
compLexity's turn to ban.
Early game.
Right, but it's more of like a awareness thing where it's like, okay, now they got it, they figured it out, so hopefully, you would expect them not to make those same mistakes. Well, we are underway in the draft for game number 2.
So I was about to say, I think the trade-off in the first 4 picks is very important to how strong compLexity's lineup is going to look, just because the Axe and the starter pick are not the most traditional picks, so it actually made the lineup look weaker than it was initially when the picking bans ended. But just the fact that they had the Invoker and the Doom made it so much easier for them to get back into that game, because these two heroes are just so very strong at the present time.
What do you think about Mineski getting first pick again?
And Radiant. I think it's because they really like that one spot where you can Ancient with Nature's Prophet. Really effective for jungling. I think that's why
that is the one sole reason.
It's totally worth losing Roche over.
That's right.
That was like the graveyard of Mineski in that game, that mountaintop. Here lies Mineski. I think they lost 2 or 3 heroes in the
like 3 or 4 times.
Did he even have Blink on Prophet there?
I don't think
Because he didn't, right? So he had Maelstrom and the lightning procs. You can see him in fog sometimes. So anytime somebody was looking there, okay, Prophet's on the cliff again. I'd rather do something else. It's kind of repetitive here, killing him. But yeah, they got a lot of kills there. If he had a Blink, I would be comfortable with him doing that. But I don't think that was safe at that stage in the game. So, but clearly they like first pick or
they're sticking with it.
So I think Seafreak's Doom was really, really good in this game. They are going to go for the Tusk instead. I think it also has a lot of value, changing things up and then, trying out other stuff, especially when you're up a game. It's still a very strong hero. I think Tusk is one of the best support heroes in present time.
I think it's a lot better in the very early game as well. If you ice shard somebody off when you have a team advantage, boom, that's a kill. It's a little bit more straightforward. It's easier to punish lanes as well. You can TP in a lane, do a snowball, and then
it's good at matching that early game aggression.
Much better than Doom. Doom is more like dive towers, be aggressive. His counter initiation is just
desperately needs the levels in order for him to scale.
A little bit harder to react to. So apparently compLexity did choose Dire.
Yeah, so compLexity is the one who chose Dire. They were given the choice. Apparently so far this weekend, first team to make that choice when given.
I don't think that's surprising at all given their stats. I'm actually more surprised that Mineski didn't pick Dire into the first game. Anyways.
But they seem, that's what they wanted the first game, so they're getting what they wanted. It seems like both teams kind of getting what their preferences are, is just having to work out a little bit better in the end.
And that's exactly it, right? It's all a question of preference. Like, personally, both for myself and Vegetables, I think we prefer playing Dire, especially if we're going to go for a Nature's Prophet strategy. So that in itself is very telling about what Mineski likes to do.
And I would have thought that it would have been the same if they play an aggressive playstyle. You want to do that on Dire side, so you get advantage, take some towers, and then you have a natural Rosh advantage to transition you into the late game. So it's a bit confusing to me why they would play aggressive style on Radiant.
Alright, well, and so far, shocking the Drought coming out this time for compLexity. Starting that out, you guys talked about it earlier in Game 1 as a possible option for Mineski.
It definitely would have transitioned them really well from a early advantage into towers just blowing up instantly.
Right.
Sometimes if the Drought just gets too much advantage, all of a sudden every range hero is hitting for an extra 50. And you can't match that. That's amazing gold advantage, really. I mean, if you lose a couple team fights, then you're stuck with the Drought. But if you keep that gold advantage up, it lets you transition into towers and eventually a Rex. So.
A couple of things too about the bans. I think that compLexity are really smart for banning Bounty Hunter in Game 1 and Game 2. I think the game would have been completely different if there were a Bounty Hunter in the last game, and they probably wouldn't have been able to overcome the gold advantage.
But I mean, the entire draft would have looked different.
Yeah, at the same time though, it suits Mineski's playstyle like extremely well, way more so than the support.
Taking away that X factor that can really help the snowball a little bit more for Mineski and making it a little bit more even for compLexity.
Alright, Chen pick here. It's going to make their lane slightly weaker, but with the creep, if they get some good pressure on Nature's Prophet, for example, they could annoy Puck a little bit in a couple ways, but at the very least, if your other support's a Tusk, you're limited in a lot of ways. You can't zone the Nature's Prophet because he's going to have trans plus right click, so it will hurt them a little bit here in the laning stage, but it will transition into good pushes and potentially good ganks as well.
I was thinking this would be one of the reasons why they would ban out the Drow Ranger. They didn't want their lanes and their towers to be pushed down. Chen isn't a very mobile hero, and so they wouldn't have the best tower defense either. So, and you don't want to end up in a tower race where you do trade-offs constantly. And I think Nature's Prophet Drow would have easily have an advantage over both trend strat or a slower scaling composition where you would go for late game heroes to match up with the Invoker. So that makes a lot of sense now, because last game it wouldn't have made sense to ban out the Drow, and they didn't, because they were going for this heavy initiate that could kill off targets fairly quickly. Whereas in this one, they're going to go for something entirely different. And that's what I was saying. I think it's good that when you're up a game and you're in a tournament and you know you're against an opponent who is deemed weaker than you and that you're confident playing against, it's good. It's a good thing to just play differently and take your time out to play different strengths and try out strategies.
Yeah, they don't actually pick Chen that often, and Mineski actually typically ban Chen because they almost never play it. So I don't.
SUBCRIBE has had a lot of success with Chen.
Yeah, I mean, not recently. They haven't picked it up so much.
Potentially because of the huge influx of Bounty Hunter and Enchantress, both heroes that are incredibly annoying to play against. And then of course Witch Doctor as well. Probably the best support up against the Chen.
Bat Rider great for countering Nature's Prophet split push and initiating general disables. You can stop Witch Doctor ulti. I do like the Tusk as a sort of solution to Puck. Maybe they didn't draft it that way since they did pick it first, but if you do get like 4-man, 3-man Dream Coils, if you can get in there and snowball those heroes and then bring them outside of the tether, it would break the tether but protect the stun. So as long as he's not caught in there with them and maybe gets a mobility item, he could be pretty useful for countering that. And then I'm looking at the Mineski lineup, and I feel like they're lacking some damage. They're lacking some disable due to that. So if they play things right or initiate it first, I feel like they could get a lot of teamfight advantage.
Although he'll round it out a little bit with Venge for now. And now we're waiting for the last phase. Game number 2 between these two teams.
Have they noticed Drow is banned?
It's looking like a Drow strat.
It's just for the Bat Rider.
Yeah. Good there.
Probably hands down the best support versus Bat Rider.
I would hope they've noticed. It is a little bit important, I hear, sometimes.
Is it worth it just for that, though? That's what I'm saying. Like, the Wave of Terror is good against Chen.
No, Ventral's definitely worth it. It's a great hero all around, and just having that swap. We saw a lot of games yesterday, just how good a Vengeful when played on a high level can be. It's good for saving, it's good for kill setups. I think it's one of the supports with the most versatility in regards to how you use the swap and everything, and it's.
I think you can even first pick it sometimes, and not even be a bad pick.
Probably not in current meta, just because of how good some of the other heroes are, but.
Well, compLexity is almost running down their clock, making sure they pick out their last band. So then on the side of Mineski, do you think there's anything super high priority, like singled out in terms of this last band?
I'm sort of worried for the same reason I was last game, but even more so now, because last game they had Night Stalker and Phantom Lancer. This time around, they have no frontliner right now. The last pick is going to be a carry position. So
I really want to Sven out of compLexity, I think, for the carry pick here. Lots of physical damage from Prophet, Witch Doctor, Vengeful Spirit. You can counter that with Warcry. You can clear the Treants very easily, and you can transition. Once he gets a BKB, like what can Mineski do to stop him?
Swap kind of
apparently.
Gives them a setup stun as well, which they're kind of lacking. They've just got basically Tusk.
Right.
I feel like Sven would be the pick here for compLexity. It might be a little slow. That's one downside. Not that great at early fights, definitely. So if Mineski does play really aggressive with their carry pick, then it could be a little problematic, especially if they get a lot on the map, block the Ancients, stuff like that.
I like Ember a lot more. I think it's a lot more quicker pace, which is what they need versus Mineski.
Yeah, I was about to say they need the quicker pace, especially because Seafreak historically has been one of the more bomb prioritized gens in the first 10 minutes.
Oh, it is going to be PL once again this game.
Pretty good. They have weak AoE on Mineski, so if he does get to past the Diffusal Manta and gets into an HP item, either Scotty or Heart, then they will have a lot of trouble killing it.
Is it time to bust out the Alk?
Oh yeah, we saw that Alchemist yesterday. I wouldn't even be past it just like a last-ditch YOLO effort. I think compLexity's lineup is just very well-rounded. It's solid, basically. It's not like it doesn't really shine early on, but it doesn't really have weaknesses either.
Sounding like Mineski just need to play to their strengths and just play their hearts out in game number 2. They got lots of time to figure out, but according to what you're saying, I mean, there's no golden answer here. It's more just on their own field.
They could also pick Sven, potentially. It's really good against PL. It's really good against PL.
So I'll say this:
it's a tough carry, dude.
I mean, just when I watch it, one of them.
Someone's gonna pick it.
Whenever we're playing tops with Perch and we're winning, it's because he plays Sven. Yeah, this is his go-to hero, and this hero is just so dominant. So this is why he's pulling.
Speaking out of experience, I like it. You gotta realize the stats you got.
OP, guys. Can kill all the AoE things. Makes up for the lack of AoE that Mineski is missing. I mean, they basically got Cask and Puck Nukes and Prophet Ulti. That's it. And they've got to kill Chen Creeps. They've got to kill PL Illusions.
Let's do it. Let's get a Sven.
All right, that's Sven. The golden answer for Mineski. All eyes on Mineski here in the arena.
I like Alk a little bit more because of minus armor.
Damn it. We were like all ready to trade, but it's like,
I think he's going to get Kite away too hard. You have to deal with that. You have to deal with like Tusk.
I think that's really true.
Like Sven is just, it's great versus PL, but it's not terribly great for the other one.
That is really the big problem, right?
Yeah.
Whatever they're going to pick here, it needs to be something that tank through the bat, because unless the bat goes on the puck, there's no obvious target. Yeah, that's true. But even then you're to whatever swap position Venge was in. If that's a Sven with
I mean, like Morphling, I guess, is also good for Spat Rider, but not that too many teams pick it up anymore.
Because it's a bad hero now.
Yeah. It's great for Spat, though. This is Morph, right?
There's always an answer. And Alk it is.
That's not a Sven.
It's not a Sven, but it is an Alk.
I'm actually with Ben. That's a lot. I think that hero's a lot better than Sven.
I'm inclined to agree. Alchemist was the right pick here. Purge, any final thoughts?
I'm gonna head my head
I was like,
hang my head in shame.
I was like, dang. All right. Well, Manila, it is time for game number 2. compLexity put out a good show, but Mineski needs your energy right now, Manila. Continue making noise. Continue sending your energy onto the stage. See if we can get a third game between these two teams as they face elimination, as they face take us in to game number 2.
Thank you very much, Choba. And indeed, here we have it. Game 2, Mineski versus compLexity. And what a way to end the draft for Mineski. They pick up the Alchemist cap. What's up with that?
I mean, we were kind of like theorizing what could possibly be the last pick. The Sven was actually a really good option there that Purge was pointing out continually. I mean, but I think it was actually a really good fit here for Mineski. But the Alchemist is definitely the curveball.
I personally thought the Sven pick made a lot of sense, actually. And it would have helped dealing with the Phantom Lancer at all phases of the game. It helps deal with the Chen Creeps once you've got a good amount of farm. The Warcry is quite good against this lineup, but They opt to go for the Alchemist, which they did against Liquid in Game 1.
Oh, the smoke, they found it here. Cast into Magic Missile. In comes the puck with Swindles. He's going to get first blood in. Boccarino, he had a great start to Game 1, and it looks to continue here in Game 2.
And a really great part of this is they're also going to be able to scout out kind of what complexity we're planning on, at least when it comes to the laning phase, and they might even be able to, sometimes you see teams when they go for this kind of like 5-man push into one side, they get the kill, and then they can like push 4 through the bottom lane or something like that, but I think Mineski just really want to be able to make sure that they secure the rune for the Alchemist. Obviously with the Grievous Greed, utmost importance that you get the bounty rune.
Absolutely, and looking at this game as well, we saw how in Game 1 Mineski were able to do well in the laning stage of the early game, then in the mid game it kind of slowed down, which didn't really work out for their draft. I guess when you got an Alchemist, if it starts to go a bit passive in the mid game, it's alright for you as a draft?
Yeah, it's okay, but at the same time, you want this hero. He's kind of works like Anti-Mage in the sense that he's going to get that big injection of gold early on, and he's going to speed farm a little bit faster than most cores, but...
Oh, we saw Jules there trying for it. He's the courier just playing with him there in the mid lane. And he won't be able to get it, and we will indeed see it go around the safer way.
You know, this was pretty interesting because you were talking about how you were fine with the puck mid versus the Invoker. In your experience from some of the things you've watched, you said that the puck can handle the Invoker really well in the mid lane. Why do you think they chose to run the Alchemist mid instead?
I mean, we've seen this time and time again where it just feels like they're okay with giving this disadvantageous matchup mid to Ben-Hur, who just plays these melee cores, but I think it's a mistake just because we saw what happened in the game where Liquid played against Mineski, where their Alchemist was able to get abused really hard by that OD plus Bounty Hunter combo. There's obviously not something like that this game. It might come down to Z-Freak being able to make something happen, but definitely not as difficult as the OD was.
Seems like Z-Freak is going to be spending more of his time in this bottom lane. He's got the best creep that you could possibly get in the beginning of the game, the Satyr Tormentor. So this is going to put a lot of pressure on the bench and puck.
I think my favorite moment of Shanghai by far was whenever they would fire off the Satyr Blast, like the crowd would go insane. They're just like, we have to have something to root for at this point.
You can see already in the mid lane, Jesse, he's certainly been zoned out quite a bit, Ben, doubling the CS here, so having a grand old time at the moment on the Alchemist, and I mean, bottom lane looks very tense. You can see the positioning of both teams, just waiting to see if they find an opening, and there's your blast just coming on to Jesse.
I mean, the best part is, like, Z-Freak, he takes the tower shot. You think he cares? He has 6 HP regen thanks to this Unholy Aura. You get a great nuke, like probably one of the best nukes you could possibly get for harassment, a huge mana pool on the Tormentor as well. And, oh yeah, a nice 6 HP regen for everyone in this lane. There's just no way that Mineski can actually win this.
This is nice as well for Ben, of course. 2 minutes in, a second bounty room for the Alchemist. More gold into the bank for the man. So far, things going pretty well for the Out, considering the matchup in the mid lane. I mean, this is the thing about the Out, we don't see it a lot. I mean, how are you building the Out nowadays, and how would you build the Alchemist in a game like this against complexity?
Do you think this is an armlet build? Or an armlet game, rather?
I don't know, they don't really have a lot of burst damage on the side of Cole. I actually think you can survive and maybe get something done with it, but in the first game that we saw it play, he went for the armlet and then directly into the Radiance. That Radiance felt a little bit more like a desperation, I need some sort of farming item, but at bottom...
Indeed, they pop the face shift first here, they come with the snowball, Raging Potato won't be able to duke this out, complexity, they find it there.
Really well planned there by complexity. They just threw out the lance, force out the phase shift, and immediately snowball him with the double damage. They knew it was a guaranteed kill. But, I don't know, going back to the Alchemist, it is kind of a predicament here, just because you have to be able to deal with the Phantom Lancer. You don't want to be pushing this game too late, so I think you have a lot of incentives to try and get your Alchemist in fighting shape relatively early on, and I think Blitz is right about being able to tank up against this team. They just are unlikely to be able to pop a hero like Alchemist if he gets the armlet and maybe goes like eventually the AC build. But Radiance, we also saw the effectiveness of Radiance against a Phantom Lancer in last game, so...
I don't think that made as big of a difference just because at that point the game was kind of locked up, but maybe he just decides to go for the attack speed build, get something like a Maelstrom to use as his clear item instead, and uses the armlet just to abuse the fact that complexity don't have that burst damage. He can get a lot of toggles off in a game like this, and laning phase so far, somewhat even. Again, I'm looking for Boccarino to try to make something happen around the map. But not a lot of opportunities for him, as a lot of these heroes are just hard to kill.
On this Alchemist again, 4 minutes in, another bounty rune, so the net worth indeed looking very good for Ben. 500 ahead of the Invoker at the moment in this mid lane. and reaching onto the level 6 as well, which is obviously going to be very nice in terms of just making it very hard for the side of compLexity to gank the Alch. I mean, if you have compLexity, how do you deal with this Alchemist? Are you worried about him at the moment, or are you waiting for something else before you start to try and shut his farm down?
It's kind of difficult just because the lane is always going to be pushed up, and Ben-Hur is naturally playing a lot further back than he was in the game that we saw prior. And this is a good adjustment from him, because we saw in the last game that when he did play Alchemist, he was way too far forward, way too frequently. And at bottom, they're going to make the move on Limp, but they just do not have kill potential on this lane.
Not even close. They need like level 7 on Raging Potato for them to have the kind of lockdowns. And now Z-Free's going to head up to the top lane. He just sent the Batrider back, and Batrider returns with full HP, full mana, and now they're going to be able to run down Bocarino.
Yeah, 2 stacks at the moment on him. That's going to be a third. Underneath the tower, here's the dive, and they should be able to run. Oh no, the heal, and he's coming in, Jules! Scaring Swindles off, making sure that compLexity can't dive for that. Nice rotation there from the Witch Doctor.
I know Swindles was pretty disappointed with his performance from yesterday. I talked to him last night, and you know, Swindles the kind of player, he's just really hard on himself, but he was really disappointed, and he's going to be kicking himself for some of the mistakes he's made in both game number 1 and now the beginning of game number 2. That should have been a guaranteed kill, but flies off a little bit too early.
This mid matchup kind of going as we expected, as the Alchemist is just playing safe farm. He's got 1 or 2 stacks into the jungle that the Witch Doctor set up for him. Jules hanging around that area. It's kind of the trade-off, is this bottom lane is going to be weaker, but they really didn't anticipate this puck dying in the first place.
And as you said, these levels just very important for the side of Mineski on this bottom lane, so they can start to try and make some action happen. I mean, at the moment, Limp, 5-6 minutes in, 21 CS on this off lane for the PL, so still relatively good for him. Top lane this time, Bounty Rune isn't going to go the way of the Alchemist, as will be sniped there by Z-Free.
Yeah, I like how compLexity start putting a premium and getting those runes, but now Raging Potato's going to be caught out.
Absolutely, they see the opening with a phase shift use, the orb already popped. It's another opening, and compLexity every time. I mean, Raging Potato, he's got to be so careful on this puck, because every time there's that window where his spells are off, they're straight in there, compLexity, to punish it.
Yeah,
sorry?
The worst part of this is all this aggression from compLexity. I really like what they're doing this bottom lane. It has a side effect where the Vengeful Spirit isn't allowed to be able to sit in the jungle and stack up the Alchemist. So right now, it's only the Witch Doctor who's stacking, and he's got that big hard camp, but that's really just not enough to keep our Alchemist, way ahead of compLexity, essentially being able to solo. They need the rest of Mineski to have some levels and gold, but they're really getting nothing to work with from this laning phase so far.
Sort of think they just have to be more careful with this bottom lane. Like, this isn't a lane that Puck is going to get hard disabled in by any stretch of the imagination, and it's going to be a little bit of a misplay. He's going to be kicking himself as he needs that level 6.
There's a lot rotating here onto Hansken. They should be able to find a kill in Mineski. They've got 4. Hansken, he's looking for the plays here with a magic missile to cancel it. He's going to get taken down.
Hansken's probably sitting there like, come on guys, like 4 heroes from all sides, from all directions, like what is that? But Mineski do spring that trap pretty nicely. They punish the roaming support. It's not necessarily the biggest kill in the world, but it does kind of set up this, this kind of like play where you're like, hey, you start roaming into the middle lane, you're going to get punished like that. Stay in that bottom lane and just keep the pressure off the Alchemist as much as possible.
And talking about the out, you're bang on. He goes for the armlet here as his first item. So we'll indeed see how much you can do. And obviously at this point, still yet to be taken down. Not a lot of looking towards that mid lane. Obviously that rotation from Tusk maybe looking to find something. Top lane. Swindles coming in fairly aggressively again, but looks like he's going to be fine. They won't be able to punish that. Up to the top. Not going to get the bounty this time. Arcane Rune's going to be up there for him at the top. 2 to 8 minutes in, I mean, this game, the opening, certainly a lot more passive than we saw in game 1. A very different kind of game being played by both sides.
Yeah, normally you're like, oh, I have to get the bounty rune, I have to get the bounty rune. But Arcane Rune is actually pretty good for Alchemist. It means he gets that, like, free Octarine for a minute, and this means he gets Chemical Rage twice in a row. The cooldown goes down to 31.5 seconds, and the duration is 25, so there's practically no downtime here, which means he's still going to be able to farm pretty efficiently through the map with more acid sprays and more mana.
The pace of this game is definitely going to favor Mineski when it slows down like this, just because Ben-Hur's taking advantage of all these stacks in the jungle. If that bottom lane hadn't gone, if it had just gone like 10% better, maybe they'd be in a really good position right now, and compLexity might not even have a kill to their name, and Mineski, they still have a lot of different ways to open up on the map. They've got the Dream Coil available on the puck. Probably just don't want to force anything right now, and if you just look around the map, I don't really know who the prime target is for him.
This is a nice smoke as well. I mean, Obviously, Limp, he did have a ward down, so we'll see how safe he feels. Didn't see the smoke, but obviously for him, in his sights, there was no action there. But still, realizes that nothing else is going on elsewhere on the map, and a nice read from Limp, just playing it safe, making sure the smoke isn't successful.
Yeah, there was that that phrase that Blitz came up with, a low percentage gank. Right? I really like that phrase because it describes it perfectly. That's what those two supports are encountering. They smoke up and try and go for a Phantom Lancer, but it's just a hard carry to go for. And it's why it's such an effective carry to run in sort of dual offlane scenarios. You don't always expect the Phantom Lancer to be running aggressive against you, but certain teams, like here we see compLexity, we've seen Alliance do it before, they're really able to punish certain laning phase configurations.
Oh, this rotation by compLexity.
It's going to be big onto Jules. He's gone. Can this punish doesn't have a Limp? He's going to doppelganger forward, trying to find a lance onto Jesse, and he will. But it looks like the rest of compLexity not wanting to dive too deep.
Yeah, the best part of that, like, that was a smoke that was all but guaranteed to find a pickoff. And once they get that pickoff, they're set up with the two exact heroes that are going for the ganking. They're the two exact heroes needed to be able to quickly take Roshan this early on. I mean, it's pretty absurd, but Invoker does Roshan so fast, and now that he's got some heroes, or creeps rather, to tank the Roshan for his Fort Spirits, it makes it all the easier.
Yeah, they know this is going on, but not really sure if they want to contest this or not. Mineski, they do have a lot of farm on these cores. The Puck has his Dream Coil available, but he's going to go for the TP top, and that's all but going to assure this Roshan for compLexity. And at just 10 minutes into the game, it's going to make quite a difference.
I actually like this. I'm not sure if they would be able to get into the Roshan pit in time, nor am I sure that's actually a fight they can win. But if they can make this surprise play and catch up Swindles, and he tries to jump on Volcarino!
Oh dear, the Blink Dagger revealed from Swindles. Not how he planned it, and as you said, the punish from Mineski. And that's big. They know that Pat's got that blink, so they'll be ready for him next time he comes in.
Yeah, and this means Raging Potato gets that much closer to the Blink Dagger. You get the Blink Dagger, you can talk about the Veil.
And mid lane, just a bit of potential was Ben. And as you guys were talking about, on top of the arm, that I guess saving up the money, he does what? Go for the Radiant straight up then as his next big item.
Yep. I think that his Radiance timing is still going to be pretty damn effective, and I think they require this damage over time. I feel like a lot of the problem with Mineski is going to be that their Puck didn't do well enough, so they're going to be a little bit lacking in damage. They have some okay control, but unfortunately their side lanes just didn't go well enough that they're going to have guaranteed kills. But if you have the Radiance, and if you could possibly get the Veil picked up by the Puck, just this natural damage over time is going to threaten a lot of compLexity.
I don't know how compLexity are going to deal with this hero early on, just because when you have a Radiance and an Armlet at just 12-13 minutes into the game, there's not a whole lot of heroes that can fight that. Yeah. They do almost have the Chen mech available to them, and that's going to help out a lot when it comes to just being able to flat push. And Mineski, this time around, they have a lot more wave clear than they did in the previous game, so being able to hold these towers against the Chen is going to be pretty crucial here.
compLexity are still getting some openings though. They pushed down the bottom tier 2, got some damage there, forced a rotation. Now Jesse's getting a lot of damage on this tier 1, still no one challenging that, and part of the reason is because they know compLexity with the rotation from tier 2 bottom in through mid, they're going to be prepared to fight around this area. And really, Alchemist, he's just saying, guys, just let me finish up the Radiance. If we take a fight now and try and defend a tower, and we lose that, and it costs me, you know, Radiance delayed 2 or 3 minutes, that could actually cost us the game.
Yeah, it's just difficult to take that fight anyways. Just, you don't have a lot of vision in your own side of the jungle. That mid fight, as we saw the first time around, went so badly for them in the last game. There's no reason to risk the game just when your Alchemist is just 1,000 gold away from your Radiance. He's got a lot of levels of the Grieval's Greed too. Not a whole lot of fighting to be done with just the right click. So get CC'd pretty easily.
So when the Radiance is up, this means compLexity need to play like very much a movement and kind of pick-off based game. You know, go for the Battle Rider Lasso into the Sunstrike, have the Phantom Lancer TP in with his Boots of Travels, and just kind of like overwhelm one hero and then get the hell out of there. I think they need to avoid full 5 versus 5s like Will was talking about.
Oh, we can see it. Yeah,
he's been spotted.
He's still going to try and maybe jump in. Actually, Mineski, as you said, they got the vision, the magic missiles there. Puck jumping forward. There'll be a snowball in time from Hanskin. It's only himself in a Dream Coach, just getting dropped off Squiggles on the sidelines. They see the rest come through, but now the Lasso controlling the Puck. Walrus Punch as well. They're finally killing Raging Potato, but death bomb for Jules. Bringing Jesse low, but Jesse's going to be fine, and now chasing the rest of Mineski back to base here. They should be able to find more. Volcarino falling low. The Spirit Lance goes forward. Can they get the MP? Yes, they can. A second kill for compLexity. Only losing the tusk there. And as you said, it's just they find the opening, and Mineski knew it. They saw it coming, but still compLexity come out on top.
Hey, it's hard to set up a better fight than the Cap. They had full vision of the Bat Rider coming in. There was no way that he was going to get the initiation off, but Mineski, they just kind of clump up and they don't hard commit to the fight, even though the puck goes in by himself. Nobody's there to follow up, and they just lose a hero for free.
Yeah, which... Ooh. They trying to fight back into it. I mean, you've got the concoction digging up, but the doppelganger out for limp, jukes it all out.
Yeah, this is going to be a large part of the problem, is that Mineski, unless they get a really good Dream Coil, compLexity have a lot of ways to be able to disengage. You have the send back from the Chen. Bat Rider's just a hard hero to catch, both him as well as the rest of his team, because of sticky Napalm and Firefly. You've got a Doppelganger from the Phantom Lancer, and then, you know, certain things like Ice Wall from Invoker, which are absurdly powerful at being able to slow down a team fight in slow pursuit. So...
Oh, yes, Windows, he's got...
He's just waiting on the lasso, but...
No, it's not, not coming here. You said, yeah, it's still on cooldown.
A little bit more time.
No way you want to make that rotation anyways onto that tier 1 tower. Just because you don't have the best vision, you don't know where everybody is on the map quite yet. You see people start to head up. Don't need to risk it at all. And compLexity, that's a good point you might bring up. The Doppelganger is so effective against all those slow-moving projectiles.
Now they're going to try it. Lasso with the Stun Strike. It's a lot of burst raging. Can he play his way out of this? Patient.
Oh, but the Invoker's coming.
Still kicking out low. That Swindles blinks in with a Firefly. They'll catch him out. And at the end of the day, the Inver's Rune to the very end of its duration, being very, very useful for compLexity, allowing them that kill. But elsewhere, space has been made, and we now seen that Radiant Stun out 15 minutes in.
Yeah, but I think compLexity is really happy with this timing. It's not all about the timing of the Radiance and how much they've slowed that down, but how much compLexity gained before the Radiance was actually picked up. They got a lot of kills on the puck. They shut him down really well. He's 0-4-4. He only has the Blink Dagger, but he's nowhere close to the Veil, which again I feel is pretty key to making puck that big transition into the mid game and allowing everybody's spells to do so much more. I think they can still potentially take some fights. They have to be careful, obviously, around this Radiance, but I think they're actually far enough ahead that they can play into it. The worst part is when you are looking at an Alchemist draft and you take a look at the team net worth and it's in favor of the opposing team. That's when you know you're in serious issues. The Alchemist may be ahead, but the rest of his teammates are so far behind.
Oh, Jules, and he got the vision for the snowball. Only just getting himself out.
And Jules mechanically is playing really well, but yeah, he's probably going to go for the Veil just because it is a good item against the Phantom Lancer as well, just so you can spot out which one is the real one. You get some immediate burst damage onto all the illusions where you can just clear it with one wave. But the Bat Rider's getting a lot of farm, and like Cap talked about, when you have a draft that features an Alchemist, it is kind of important to be ahead in net worth because this hero, it's really easy to kite him. He heavily relies on being so far ahead in net worth that you just can't really ignore him.
Oh, mid lane raging, jumping in, drops the coil as well, looking for Swindles. He's got the help of Jesse, Jules, the whole gang ready to go, and here's the cast. Swindles out of place and taken down. They punish it, they get themselves the kill, and don't lose anything in return.
It was kind of absurd, though, how long it took them to kill a Bat Rider. Just like when they went on around the tier 2.
Can they catch this Outcat? He hasn't got up for 10. It's just Hanskin, though. He out. Yeah, couldn't get himself boxed in. I think the creep went down when he tried. And now, talking about TPing in. Ocarina's going to join. The cask is there. So time to show the concoction, and they'll get it. They punish Hanskin. Mineski now just reacting very nicely as a team to just catching the heroes of compLexity out on their own, and they've got to be careful about being picked off by it like this.
That was the opening Mineski really needed to be able to take a tier 2 of their own because their bottom lane was pushed out. Because they get that kill, though, they can make this an even swap, maybe.
Yeah, holding on for the stun to win up the game. Can they get it right? Concoction is on point. Step ball down, Liv's gone. Dabbling Blast onto 3 now. compLexity try and fight back into this, but Mineski still looking pretty good. They may even just turn back in. Swindles bouncing around them here on the cliff, looking to chase him, gets him with the lasso, brings the MP back, and Mineski says, sorry, Bot, you've got to go. They let him die, and the rest of them are out, realizing it's not a great fight for them, and just making sure it's only one loss for the side.
I mean, did you see the way that Jules, like, attempted to turn around? One sticky napalm stack, and he was, like, slowly shuffling and turning himself around, trying to get the paralyzing cast to stop the Bat Rider from pulling away his ally, but he just can't really do it, and this is the big strength of the Bat Rider. They have so much kiting potential, and it's only going to get worse, as Will was alluding to earlier. If compLexity are ahead in net worth and they start getting more items, Ghost Scepters and Force Staffs and those sort of things on Cole, it's just going to be tough for the Alchemist to be able to get his hands essentially on some people, and it just becomes all the more necessary that Puck has a good game at that point, that he's able to find the right initiations, get the good dream coils that keeps the heroes in place for those couple extra seconds.
The good news though is that they were able to find the Phantom Lancer, and that hero is worth a lot more as Hans gonna mid.
Indeed, mid, they'll find it. Jules, this time, Mineski, the ones with the Invis rune of their house, just giving them that opening to get the cask out. Just that little stun, setting up for the silence from Potato. And 8 for 7, it's certainly stepping back up, and imagine if you look at the graph, it must be starting to swing right back round for Mineski, and indeed it is. And as you talk with an out, I mean, we can expect to see that go up and up and up, and let's completely continue to find these kills. But he might actually survive this one. He's got Witch Doctor's heal, he's going to be finding out there, looking to turn it. Concoction and Cars got to see free, but the Silver Sturges, do they have the damage? Yes, they do. Mineski, they find themselves another, and they'll even get some of the chain creeps here to boot.
Man, Z-Freak thought he was such a baller. He like rolls up with 3 different trolls and just chain nets the poor Furion, but it doesn't prove to be enough. Fortunately, the Bocarino chose to go for that mech build, kept him alive with the Voodoo Restoration as well. You just need to make sure they defend this tier 2 mid. Don't be caught.
I was going to say, he's coming to defend, but he's on his own for the time being. Raging Potato just join in, gets the silence out by Bocarino. Flame Break back, the Illusion's chasing him down. There's just Surge going, oh, gets him! He's gone! And now the rest of Mineski coming through, but completely how long are they going to stick around for?
Oh no, Stable Concoction sending himself. I don't think they can catch these heroes otherwise.
He's looking for a Potato, but he's low on mana. He is moving forward on his own, and Duke's out the lance. Chessie now turning up. Mineski, they still want to try and look for this for the time being at least. Ooh. And now they realize it's not the time to fight a man down, and they'll hold off.
I love these kind of ice shards play. Trapped him against the tree. You never know when the enemy team's retreating. You can make a play like that. You might open your team up for like a turnaround and quick pickoff. But compLexity, they knew they were fortunate enough just to be able to get the Furion and need to be able to call it a day.
Hey, they've got it. Concoction on the high ground, Deathwood on the low ground. Swindles is gone. Nice little play there. The Witch Doctor just forcing Swindles to force up to the high ground, and the Concoction was waiting for him ready and all charged up.
And they just have way too much farm right now on Ben-Hur. It's really difficult to deal with this hero, especially when he's got the Manta style. We already discussed the difficulty in bringing him down when he's got the Chemical Rage up. Because of the fact that they don't have any sort of immediate burst damage, they're going to send the Meatball down, but unlike last game, they rely so heavily on this Bat Rider to be their solo initiator.
I'm talking about initiating puck. Raging Potato in the tree line here, has a Dream Coil. He sees an opening, he's going to jump. The full lineup of Mineski ready to fight. Potato holding on for the time being. They need to get some kind of vision for the fight around this. They'll see Limp as he comes forward with the lance. And the tree's actually been cleared out. Fortification now with his TP. I mean, this opening up to be a big one. Potato jumps in, Silence, quite a lot to do. Swindles a little caught out, Swindles up to the left. Can he get himself away? No, Concoction blows through, hand of God. From Z-Freak down to Beck as well. Keeping Swindles alive for the time being. Surge strike coming up, but it's not going to be on point. Bocarino and Jules now the retrieval. One close to finishing off the Witch Doctor. It's a 1-4 at the moment, but Mineski can make 5 more EMP. Bocarino sprouts up, TP's away. Oh, he can't make it. The snowball comes through. But Hans gets silenced though. You're going to make it 2 for 2. Raging Potato with the double kill, and the rest of compLexity still hanging around. Chessie trying to do something. Major Magic Missile, Ben a little bit low mana. And it looks like it will settle down for the time being. And again, these big fights, and 2 for 2. I mean, is anyone the clear winner there in your eyes, Cap?
I mean, I was just so absurd that like Ben-Hur couldn't go for more at that point in time because there's this big looming ice wall in his way. He just can't move forward through that, which is why BKB is going to be essential for him eventually. But I believe he's got to finish up, go for the Octarine next. That way you have the full spam out essentially, where Chemical Rage is always up. You're able to throw Manta Illusions everywhere, and compLexity are actually going to be kind of hard pressed to stop that split pushing aspect. They don't really have the greatest heroes to deal with it. One of the good things though is their item set is actually okay for it. They've got a lot of boots and travels.
Has he gone enough first? Well, with the wrap, he might just... Oh, no, he can't! Great play from Mineski. Raging Potato setting up beautifully with the Invis, waning Rift into the Veil, into the magical burst. I mean, Invis runes this game. They're being huge for both sides in terms of these solo pickoffs.
And now they might actually get another pick on Swindle.
Every single time! He's going to pop so hard there with the moment. They've got him, not a chance. Off he goes, dominating streak here for the Alchemist. And this time, Mineski game 2, doing a lot better in this mid-game portion.
I love this kill combination that they have between the Alchemist and the Witch Doctor too. The Acid Spray just allows the Death Ward to do so much more damage.
Top push going to come in as Raging Potato once again looking to set up. Doesn't have the Dream Coil available though, but kind of pulling aggressively.
Needs to be careful there. Potato was looking for the silence. But as you said, they get their objective, they get a tier 2.
compLexity are just getting super sloppy. Remember what Will said like last game? The sign of a team, you know, like kind of falling apart and playing badly is that you get picked off multiple times. Well, that just happened. They got picked off in mid, they got picked off at top. They can't afford some of these aggressive positions. I'm not sure if the compLexity are underestimating some of the kill power that these teams of two that Mineski are running around with that they actually have, but compLexity just cannot afford too many more mistakes.
And we're seeing again, Chessie is going for Roche. I think in pretty much both of the games, it's always been compLexity getting their hands on this one. Mineski never really been able to truly disrupt a Roshan attempt.
Oh, come on, Rash.
Are they going to check it? Are they going to check it out? The ping's coming through. Don't know it yet. Stem one in, yeah. So they'll see it. It's very low as well here. They've got relatively good Roshan potential taking as well with their lineup.
Or they're going to go in, steal it outright?
They're going to just walk in and try and take it, compLexity. Can they punish this? We'll see. At the moment, the Ancients and Carty coming in for the team. Look at the leaders. We're not sure. Oh no! He's left over the illusion! Now Chessie coming over the combo. Liv will be executed over the game. Fully is Radiant's kill. It's 6 to 1. Now get it, Mineski. Chessie back takes to the depth. Walks to Jules on the high ground. Punneling into Liv. Liv scored Chessie. Look at the Sprouts. They have the vision. Where's the vision? That always gets sent back. Just in time of Mineski. They kill Liv, they kill Roshan, and they manage to pick up the Aegis after what seems like an eternity that's left on the floor.
Is that the very first Roshan that Mineski has gotten in this series? I mean, that is exactly what they need. We can now they're actually getting close to being able to end the game. All right, bye-bye Aegis, but that's okay. Yeah. Mineski are still full steam ahead. They're going to be able to push the tier 2. They're probably going to go high ground here and just force out some damage on the tier 3 with a Phantom Lancer.
Complete your shot down the cars. Onto the high ground, the cook launcher, they go onto his windows. He's going to fall low. It could bear with the Radiant. Oh, he's almost certainly still going to go down this man. Oh, he's out. They go down and down. The turnaround has kept, but he's on the front line. Gets bursted down. That's a tough gun.
What a player. He had to make that save on the Bad Rider. Now they actually have a chance to be able to defend their tier 3 and force Mineski back.
Let's see what they can do, Mineski. Not ready to leave. They're still happy, standing strong, pushing forward. Ben now starting to tick out. He's got that ultra in his head. He's going to have the ult back up very, very shortly.
They know the Bat Rider is coming. I am very surprised that they're actually still in a position to stuff like this.
This time he does get the out, but the out with the online going to be incredibly tacky. Can they burst him down? Two shots to the flame break here with the Mantis Star going to be right for the time being. Tier 3, and they're already but then on the dream car. The way he rips onto 2. The cold culture onto Swindles. Chessie gets flung back. Magic against the power as he can't. Bouncing between them. Guido, can he get himself out of this one? Still pulling low. Oh, yes, he saved him at the last fly through. The hallucination bomber on the back line. No raging potato just playing with the Soul compLexity. Takes down Swindles. He's hiding in the tree line here. We'll spawn him out. Phase shifts. Potato. He's going to play around over here.
And they've already taken the tier 3.
Phase shift again. Tornado for Chessie. So it's not going to be that no raging potato against the science up to 2. Chessie can't get the rest of his spells out. Good control of the evoker back. Move forward. The Gabby runs on about to struggle in. Can they kill the out on the cast? Jules is going to hold the back. Magic Missile looking forward. Through Khan's kid is gone. Z3. He can't come in on his own. There's 2 dead on compLexity. Fortification will come out here. But Mineski, they should be able to finish this off. They'll get themselves a full set of rank points within. They swap and silence. Mineski! And 5-1 Chessie will be able to go walk himself out. For compLexity, they can't afford to give away calls like that. Liv waltzes in and immediately the swap is there.
compLexity crumbling under that constant aggression of Mineski. They refused to back down. They just kept on going at that ground. A clean escape from them, and look at the lead that they have. Plus, they killed the Phantom Lancer in that last engagement. PL is so far out of this game now.
My goodness, Blitz, what do you have to say for yourself?
I mean, Mineski, this time around, it just feels like they had a better game plan going into the mid-game. They were able to finally use that aggression and turn it into something like a tower push with objectives. I really like that they finally decided to contest for that Roshan. In the previous 2 games you saw, they largely just gave it up, and this time around it pays off huge for them as they pick up so many different kills. And with that Rax, the amount of gold that they got just from the kills in the Rax alone, there's a fully completed AC now on the Alchemist. The items are just trickling in. Mineski, they are so on top of this game right now.
They really are. This is, it really feels that between game 1 and game 2, they must have had a talk, because Mineski this time, they're not messing up. You know, we're seeing this point 28 minutes in, and Mineski, each and every time, they're getting the pick kills, they're managing to punish the aggression of compLexity. And, I mean, it's your compLexity now, what are you looking to do? You just can't let yourself be picked off as much as they have been.
You know, part of the problem is I'm not sure if their initiation can be on the Alchemist anymore. I know that when they jumped, I don't think they got like the Meteor combination. So Alch still looked really healthy after all of that. In fact, the initiation only led into a pick off on the Furion. Ben-Hur was actually super healthy. Do you ignore that hero at a certain point? Do you look for a better, easier kill?
I don't really know if you can ignore him just because of how much damage he puts out. He's 30 minutes in, he's 6-slotted already. The Radiant Spurt alone is dealing quite a bit. And all of these long fights, that's really what's hurting complexity the most. They just can't burst anybody down.
How do you stop this? He just sits there.
He's got so much armor.
Swindles, he's going to try initiating onto the Alchemist, bring him back. Raging Potato jumps in over the 3 quarter stun, stop the 3. Then sending the concussion over, looking for Chessie. Chessie, he's going to be fine in for the side, but none of the stun still came out. They'll get it. Chessie's down. 72 seconds will buy back straight away. Area with the face, but already Rescue Blitzy, talk about the base limb. True fight Bocarino, but Jesse Match. He can't kill Sun. Double kill from that as they take down Sun. Just go by back available limb. Chopping by the Radiant Burn, taking him out. Bocarino still alive, swarm back. Bocarino's going to be saved. Managed just to walk it off here on the native profit. And again, complexity just can't stop the Alchemist. They can't do anything about him, and again, Concoction catches 2. Raging gets him with a silence to the corner out. Chessie and C3 being forced back. Swindles on the sideline is looking to see if he can do anything, but there's no lasso at the moment, and just the illusions forcing back complexity into their fountain. It's a second set of racks from Mineski and Raging Potato. He's ready to play. He's just walking around in front of the fountain. Orbs away. Lim, can he try and punish this one? We'll get the lance out. Cold snap as well. Raging as the yours. And with a phase shift, can he play around them for a little bit? Right. Goodbye, complexity. Oh, hello. We're here for that too. But no, he's out. Oh, he's out. He's out.
Eventually, some cooldowns are going to come into play. I have no idea what kind of play Raging Potato was going for. Like, he was sitting underneath the throne at some point in time while the rest of his team was backing out, but still, it doesn't really matter. The pickoff, it's small. It doesn't mean anything. Mineski have every lead in the world. Look at the Alchemist's net worth. I know it's an Alchemist, but he's got double the Invoker, who's in second place.
300 CS 30 minutes in, 6-0-10. Absolutely incredible stuff. And now, who's he giving the Ags to? Who gets priority?
I think Puck.
Is it the Witch Doctor's? Oh no, Witch Doctor's board is his own. So, Alk, you reckon it's going to be the Puck?
I think he's the only real target that benefits from it a ton. You've got the Nature's Prophet, and I guess you can keep using him to push in the lanes, but at this point, you're just buying side items for the rest of your team because they know complexity. They just do not have the lockdown for the Alchemist. You notice they use the Bat Ultimate on him every single time, but where's the burst damage coming from?
Yeah, Ben, yeah, as you said. TP's back. There you go, there's your Axe Puck, Raging Potato. I mean, this man, you know, on this Puck, we're seeing Puck make a real resurgence, what feels like over the past couple of weeks. And I guess this kind of game we're seeing why, because every time these multiple hero silences and Dream Coils are essentially starting off the fight and winning them for Mineski.
I sort of think that right now for complexity that any sort of chance they have to assault the backline and hope that they don't get that 2-man Dream Coil over and over again on their 2 cores. The Invoker needs space to be able to do anything, but it's going to be such a tough task to follow up with.
Swindles has to find pickoffs right now, and it looks like he will be able to get one in Bocarino.
See, with Hanscan coming in as well, is there any way they can play his way out of this? He has gone a mech. No TP though. And indeed, it'll be a slow, painful death here for the Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, but look at bottom. Ben-Hur, he knows there's 2 heroes in the top lane. He's got 3 behind him. He knows he's going to assault this tier 3.
And but Lim trying to go for the back line. He's trying to find Jules here. Jumping straight in off the Witch Doctor. Same time, Chessie's been silenced out. There's the corner, get him! That should broken down. No buyback. Jules will be punished by Lim. But now Lim, the one in trouble. Ben forcing him back here with a Radiant Spur. Lim jumps into the sideline, but Puck's there. Magic Missile. Wicked sick for your Alchemist. Buyback straight away from Lim, but they've got to defend it without the Invoker. Yes, Mineski, 2 heroes down, but Ben still there, the powerhouse on the Alchemist. I mean, this man chasing down Z3 with a stun Lim. Finds Jesse Bash there with the help from Hanscam. But the Alchemist waltzing around the base, kills the Chen. If they can kill this out, it's a lot of money, but there's Raging Potato in with the double kill. Silence on to 2. Swindle forced back to the fountain. They just can't deal with it. This Puck Alchemist combo, every single fight, they jump in, they get the control, Alk walks in, mega creeps from Mineski, 33 minutes in. I really don't know how you defend against this one after complexity.
I don't think you can. There's absolutely no way. Mineski are just going to continually assaulting your base. I can't believe they did this in game 2.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Oh, hey.
Looking at the turnaround. They'll get him in. Then, okay, nearly turning it. They're coming in with the puck, looking for the place. Potato. Oh, Stalin, as you said, all over them. The ancient falls in GG, well played, Mineski! Taking it to a game 3. After what looked to be a weak showing in the mid-game of game 1, Mineski shows they can stand up to a level here on this international playing field and take a game of complexity. Cap, can you believe it?
I honestly can't. Mineski, they keep their hopes alive in this tournament. First of all, this game 2, but the way that they did it too, they made a statement here. Not even your fountain is safe against Mineski once they get this kind of start. I mean, it was such a different game. Will mentioned, you know, they played so much better in the mid-game compared to game number 1 and compared to the previous series as well. I really thought that Mineski was just not going to be able to come back, but they did it. Game 2 is theirs, and we have a game 3 coming.
Absolutely, and Blitz, I mean, going into game 3, you've just got knocked down that hard by an Alchemist if you're complexity. How do you rebuild yourself and come back in to look to take a game in that deciding match?
I don't know. I sort of think confidence is going to be a little bit low for complexity. They barely eked out that first game win. They've got the home crowd behind them in game 2. Mineski, they just look alive right now, and I'm not really sure what the move is for complexity now.
Absolutely, and well, this first series here, ESL Manila is certainly turning out to be quite some Dota 2. Don't go anywhere. Game 3 between Mineski and complexity will be right around the corner after this short break. We'll see you in a bit.
Up pace with them this time, and then towards the end, it was just a Mineski show all the way.
Yeah. It was a lot more convincing this time around as well. After the early game, I think Mineski just took complete control of the game, and that Alchemist, his net worth was triple the next one in line. That was insane to watch.
Yeah, they shifted all that really high aggression that they did in the first game to a point when it really mattered, which was mid to late game. The early game, yeah, the puck had some deaths here and there that delayed the blink, but they really limited what the Batrider could do, and that bought Alchemist all the time in the world. He just sat mid, got last hits, and then cleared stacks. He did that until he had Armlet Radiance, and at that point, he's so hard to kill, especially because Complexity's lineup didn't have a ton of nuke damage or single target bursts. They just didn't have a good Alchemist solution, and he just kept getting gold.
Ben, are you proud of the Alchemist pick and how it worked out here? I mean, you were kind of rooting for that in the draft, and obviously it paid off given the way they played it out.
I think it fitted really nicely with, we saw their lineup, it's like NP, he doesn't really offer that much damage, and then with the minus armor from Acid Spray, you have the Vengeful Spirit Howl of Terror, as well as the Witch Doctor ult. Like, you actually have other heroes that can do damage and follow up and get tons of kills, which I think they actually lacked last game. They couldn't keep getting kill after kill after kill, which we saw compLexity do with the Axe Chop.
And the difference this time around, as we were talking about last game, they had a Witch Doctor who had Arcane Boots in last game, and this time around, Jules on the Witch Doctor had full inventory, basically. He had the Aghanim Scepter, he had some other stuff as well. He was very farmed, and I think that also played into this, but obviously the Alchemist being the very much so deciding factor. I think if the manner of which these games have been won, I'd say that Mineski is probably the favorites going into game 3, just based off of these two games, because they played a more convincing game in the second win,
right?
Or their first win, but in the second game, whereas compLexity was struggling for at least a good 20 minutes. The second they hit Roshan, so I could see how that would confuse him.
Yeah, I mean, tough life sometimes as a Batrider.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you guys said, I mean, we can just see it in the replay here too. It's much more, I mean, sure, it wasn't always in Mineski's favor per se, but much more back and forth, where it could have been anybody's game. Mineski takes it in game 2, whereas first one, it was definitely more of a comeback, kind of a long haul for compLexity, kind of vying for that chance to get that advantage. And I mean, we could see that we kept track of that throughout game 1. So overall, I mean, also, so obviously just coming in with the energy, with the confidence that you guys keep mentioning, the commentators also, this game, I mean, maybe this is what they needed for Mineski to say, hey, we definitely have a shot. Like, we can definitely win this best of 3. It's down to 1 map.
Oh yeah, this is a huge confidence boost, if anything. And they actually walked off stage pretty calm and collected and everything. And I think, as did compLexity, but in a much different way than they did after their win, obviously. And you could tell that there was going to be an afterthought from Swindle when they went into the locker room. I don't think he is too happy with how this game played out. Obviously, when you lose, that's normally the result of it, but probably a bit shocked with just how much they got dominated going into the later stages of the game.
It was just that the midpoint of the game, like the 12 to 18 minute mark. They didn't get nearly enough kills, and yeah, they did do this Roche, for example, or a Roche earlier, but it took a very long time. This is a very pivotal point. Kills were pretty even, but they needed to get the Roche advantage for gold as well as the Aegis, and it just didn't quite work out. There was a scramble, Venge picks it up, and then it just kind of became a one-sided team fight. Look at that Death Ward doing so much damage on the high ground.
Yeah, this was one of those huge moments, and this was what you were talking about earlier with Batrider going in, having a little bit of confusion there. Doesn't work out.
And the real threat in this was also the Puck. When he picked up that Veil of Discord, you just saw how fast these targets went down, because all of the Puck spells benefit from it, right? So we saw Lancer just blowing up when the Nature's Wrath from the Nature's Prophet hit him together with the Puck ulti. And then the Invoker as well. He didn't really, normally Invoker is a huge threat throughout the game, especially when it goes into the late game. But this Puck just made sure that he was always either dead or low, so that he couldn't actually fight.
Yeah, I just saw it right there as you were talking about it. A good example of how that panned out towards the later portion of the game. Now, is this partially also just due to, I mean, we were talking about that in the draft, where compLexity had a pretty solid draft, but that was the strongest point. It didn't seem to have a huge characteristic, as you guys were mentioning. Do you think maybe they also have to go back to the drawing board in game 3 and say, hey, we also have to just kind of go in with our own game plan and play by those rules rather than trying to counter everything within the game as it starts?
I think a big difference was Mineski actually had a good frontliner. Like, they didn't have anyone that could scat out the Slaughterdar and the Axe in the first game without dying. This game they had the Alchemist. On top of that, they had the illusions from the Alchemist to move around, maybe stop the Batrider blink. Like, Swindle's life was just really, really difficult this game, and the supports could sit in the back, just do the damage that they wanted to do, because they had that frontline tanky Alchemist who was double everyone's net worth.
Yeah, I don't really like PL as a solution to Alchemist either. I mean, obviously it was picked first, so they couldn't deal with it, but the damage that PL does is not super high unless you're against high mana, low armor heroes, because you're getting extra damage from the Diffusal Blade. So against an Alchemist, it wasn't a very good solution, and you definitely farm slower than Alchemist does, and you contribute less to ganks in the mid game. It's very difficult for you to die, and that was a really good thing about PL that game, but they definitely needed more damage there.
All right, well, we pointed out, I mean, you guys talked about what Mineski needed. They did exactly that in game 2. They're coming back pretty strong. compLexity, we also just kind of touched upon, okay, maybe, you know, still a little bit caught off guard. Like you guys said, Swindle's probably going back and thinking about, all right, this time we really saw the strength of Mineski and what they can accomplish, the potential there. Going back to the drawing board, now going into game 3, we're going to take a short break, but overall, I mean, do you think it's just totally a toss-up between these two teams now?
Essentially, yeah. I think so. Normally, everyone on this desk would probably favor compLexity, but after the performance that Mineski put up, and in some regards also compLexity, right? Because they're not performing to the level that we've seen them in, for instance, in the major. So that's probably also a big part of it. Not to harp on Mineski's performance at all, because they're playing great, right?
I mean, there's always two sides, though.
Yeah. So that's one of them. So obviously, if compLexity wants to win, they need to step it up. I also think, while I think their draft was solid in the sense that it had a lot of heroes that are just very, very solid on their own merit, it lacked synergy in comparison to, for instance, the lineup they had in game 1. So I think that's probably one of the things they'll be looking to change.
Yeah, Purge, what about you?
Yeah, definitely agree. The synergy, their heroes need to coordinate really well in the early game, so that way they can deal with the aggression. Because this game just, it felt really off in the mid to late game. They got all that advantage, and they just ran with it. And compLexity had very little ways to set up ganks or get kills. It was basically Batrider plus 2 heroes every time they wanted to kill somebody. And that's too many hero resources. So they just need just a straightforward draft that they're very comfortable with. That way they can deal with the aggression and always know what to do.
And Ben, any last thoughts from you as we get ready for game number 3 between these two teams?
I think the crowd's a big factor behind Mineski's performance. Like, I think when they walked in, they were like, we really don't want to disappoint our fans. Everyone's watching us, everyone's supporting us. But I don't know, as the series has gone through, it's like, oh, they'll support us win or lose. They even like cheered a little bit when like the Sunstrike came out and killed one of Mineski's players. So, you know, they just want some good Dota.
Yeah.
They'll be happy with Mineski win or lose. And I think that eases their mentality a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see compLexity getting a huge cheer too during the entrance. So obviously all the fans here are just excited to be here for ESL One Manila, but it would help if Mineski could win. We will go to a short break, and when we come back, the last game in a best of 3 as we find out who stays in the tournament this weekend.
Didn't think we could fall in love. Broken from the start, chained to our past. We had closed hearts. We are breaking free. It's just you and me. We might fall apart, but we're all in one.
Two to three more, maybe more to the other. I like started that sentence, I was like, it could actually go to way more drafts if they continue winning, so we'll stop that one, we'll stop that suspense right there. But again, one last game, both teams, I mean, put up a really good show. I don't think anyone can complain. All the fans here were really just excited. Like you said, I mean, every play that was happening, we're all just here to enjoy some Dota, but at the same time, it just feels good to go to a third game as we kick off day 2 here in the arena, to just see what is in store for us. And you guys were mentioning, I mean, maybe potentially this is what we can expect from all the games you guys are saying. I mean, all these teams, it's kind of a toss-up when it comes to one moment, one best of 3.
Yeah, and I'm hoping Mineski is just feeding off this crowd, right? I hope they turn into these 5 Hulks that just comes out and bash down compLexity. I know from the other side of the fence, compLexity has very emotional players, especially Swindle. He's a guy that likes to feed off crowds and fans and everything, something he does a lot. I think maybe that also influences him negatively, knowing that the home crowd is actually cheering for his enemy, right? So maybe that's a factor in how they play. All right, nothing? Okay.
Yeah,
well, over to you, Tober.
All right, well, now that that segment is over, going over to Purge about your thoughts. I mean, we already did all kind of like the analysis. Again, I mean, obviously for this weekend, bit of a small sample size, but we talked about their history too, coming in obviously compLexity. Again, kind of feeling good overall. I mean, in terms of the draft, do you think anything's going to change towards the first part of the draft, like the first half of the draft? Because obviously one last hero, we talked about it when it came to like the last pick. There were some other options.
Let's go and pick some bands, Chobra.
Yeah, you want to just jump right into it? All right, let's just jump right into it. Ben leading the charge for the fans, for the people. You know what we want getting into the draft. And there you go, called it right on. And, Bounty Hunter gets through, and it's Mineski this time on there, and they'll snatch it right up. And you guys talked about it. I mean, if they had it in that first game, it could have been a huge difference.
Yeah, it's the difference is that they banned out Nature's Prophet instead, a global hero. At least this way they can kind of know. Bounty Hunter can't be 2 places at once like Nature's Prophet can, so at least they can deal with it potentially. It's going to be a little scary because it's going to upset things very drastically compared to how the last 2 games went.
And there you go, called it right on. And, Bounty Hunter gets through, and it's Mineski this time on there, and they'll snatch it right up. And you guys talked about it. I mean, if they had it in that first game, it could have been a huge difference.
Yeah, it's the difference is that they banned out Nature's Prophet instead, a global hero. At least this way they can kind of know. Bounty Hunter can't be 2 places at once like Nature's Prophet can, so at least they can deal with it potentially. It's going to be a little scary because it's going to upset things very drastically compared to how the last 2 games went. So, but you know, a lot of people are picking Bounty Hunter right now, so they can definitely deal with it.
Yeah, it seems like they have a different game plan in mind already with the instant Beastmaster login as well. Pretty good against the Bounty Hunter. Keeps track of the enemy territory, gets the Necromicon with the Invis detection later on in the game. Just an all-round solid opening for them, but worth noticing is the fact that they let the Invoker go and picked up the OD instead. OD wasn't banned in either of the first 2 games, so definitely changing gears entirely.
It's a little bit better mid against Bounty Hunter potentially, because if they go on you, you just banish one and it's just a 1v1 while you run away. So maybe that's the line behind it. It's decent as well dealing with the Invoker. Forge Spirits, it gives you a solution there. Whereas if they get Bounty Hunter plus OD, then that just sounds like, man, that's the easiest skill ever mid.
Yeah, and you have the Beastmaster raw to deal with the Invoker when you need to.
I think that's Swindle's best hero. I think they play really well around it, and it's really difficult as a captain to give directions around your team, especially when you play the other heroes that he has been playing. But Beastmaster, you have a lot more information available to you, which they were severely lacking in the last game.
The attack speed aura also synergizes really well with OD as well. Something a lot of people forget, but attack speed on OD, that completely changes the hero, and Beastmaster will provide that.
All right, well, a change of gears for both teams in for a new show in game number 3. Witch Doctor also now this time being taken out Didn't like dealing with that in either of those games on compLexity's side.
The faceless void ban is interesting. Unless it's the infamous Wagamama build.
Oh, because Beastmaster's already the offlane. Good point. Yeah, they can't really unless they do.
Some things run in position 4 with Iron Talon. It's pretty common.
So I guess they jungle anyways in a lot of cases. So.
Yeah. Also really good versus Invoker with time dilation.
Alright, Tiny, it's a little bit of a throwback to what they used to run a month or two ago.
Yeah, so they pick Tiny a lot, but it's not always paired up with the Wisp. So
yeah, they actually, in Shanghai especially, they played it a decent amount without the Wisp.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty good Wisp game, actually. They just need to get Boots of Travel and one other core, and then they can TP that on the Hawk plus relocate. I mean, their gank potential is decent if they go that way, plus Wisp is great with OD and good with Tiny. Can help maybe cover the OD against the Bounty Hunter as well. Gives them a lot of options.
There we go, just snatching it right away. Had no other intentions going with the Wisp. Classic, now back on the side for Mineski.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of the Doom pickup unless it's the offlane Doom role. Because if he's played like a 4 and a 5 Bounty Hunter, then you suddenly lack some sort of support that binds it all together, I feel.
That's a good point. And someone that can't really, I mean, Bounty Hunter can sacrifice himself and plant a lot of wards, but then he's going to get one shot at some stage.
But I mean, Doom could very well just be played on the offlane. I think that holds a lot of merit still, so I'm praying that that's what they're going to do.
Especially this game, Doom versus Tiny, like if you're sitting equal levels, he's never going to one-shot you. And plus Scorched Earth on top of that, you can easily pressure him better than he can pressure you.
I mean, Tiny's probably mid, right?
Could be, yeah. Is Tiny really better against Invoker than OD is versus Invoker?
It's got a Tiny Wisp mid, and then with the Invoker OD farming the safe lane.
Okay, well, definitely
I would assume.
Assuming Doom Lich offlane now. Should be pretty good. Lower attack speed and movement speed of OD. They can definitely dive and pressure him. Especially with the IO being mid, that means that they can definitely exploit the dual offlane. So I actually really like the Lich Doom this game. Lich will be food for Tiny though as the game hits mid game and he gets a Blink though.
Depending on how the Lich's game is going, yeah.
True. Well, but at some point, like, you're gonna get a Blink on Tiny, and having the HP to be able to survive at that stage is
I think it's okay though, because they're trying to sacrifice a Lich to keep the OD down, right? If they keep the OD down, then Invoker can kite the Tiny, Doom can just keep dooming the OD, and then they can keep their 2 cores in check in the early and in the mid game.
It's a lot of theory crafting.
I mean, that's what we... yeah, that is literally what our droughts are right now.
Not a lot of stuns on either team, actually. Lockdown might be a bit of an issue.
A Brute ban coming out, so there's obviously it's a solo lane missing. It is quite interesting. They could have potentially run the Doombringer as a position 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think Queen of Pain is particularly strong against this lineup of compLexity because, as you were saying, Tiny with a Blink Dagger, really good for insta-giving. Beastmaster with Raw.
I think they're worried about that kind of an offlane like Brood because their lanes are very static. You know that it's either Tiny or OD, and both of them aren't very survivable to harass in the safe lane.
And the obvious counters only come out when Necromicon is up on the Beastmaster and Wisp has sufficient level to relocate in on him, assuming someone was already on him. Because normally the Brood can just run away, right, in the webs from relocate.
Alright, well,
Reserve time.
one last one. Alright, compLexity. The last pick that could determine who is to win here. Already all different. What do you think is severely lacking? I mean, we talked a little bit about the lockdown for both teams, but would you expect anything that's a little bit high priority for compLexity here as a 5th pick?
I honestly think a hero like Tusk is pretty good. Is it bad?
Yeah.
Is it?
Without Roar, they don't have a lot of ways to keep people in one place and allow OD to do the DPS.
I kind of like Spear Breaker or something like that.
That would be pretty cool too. I agree.
Super tanky.
We see that hero all too little. And if you like, if game 1 was any indication, this super tankiness is really good later on.
That was not expected. I guess they can do Banish into Arrow, so it's a good lane setup. This may mean
This might actually mean that it's a tiny wisp on the safe lane.
Yeah, because doing OD, we're on a safe lane versus a Doom Lich off lane, like you just don't have enough damage to kill either of those heroes. It would never happen. Unless you get like Lich with a creep wave and an arrow, like I just don't see either one of those guys dying. So I think it is more likely it's going to be OD mid. They can pressure Invoker better. He would have Forge Spirit obviously to block the arrow, but so it's going to be a fairly even game, but maybe the goal is kill Bounty instead. That's actually an attainable goal. If they just have a sentry mid, they can see Bounty coming. He dies every time that Moran is within arrow range, if they land the arrow, which they should. It's a good way to stop that pressure, definitely. So I agree. I think it's going to be OD mid, then Morana roam.
So this can go several directions, right? They can still pick a solo off lane hero like a Bat Rider or a Darkseer, or they can pick a solo safe laner.
I don't like the idea of a Darkseer here. I don't think the Iron Shield doesn't synergize with anybody but Bounty and Doom, and in most cases Bounty can't be there.
Ooh, Slaughter coming out this time for Mineski. Draft is complete. Ben, what are your thoughts as we wrap this up and we see the roster for both teams?
It's going to be really tough dealing with OD and Wisp. I favor compLexity's lineup a little bit more. They also have just a nice mix of disables and good setup for relocate. Very good late game.
All right, what about you two, Purge, Melk? Any further thoughts as we wrap up the rosters?
I'm in complete agreement with Ben, actually. I think compLexity's lineup just is overall stronger. I'm a bit on edge with the Slaughter pick just because I didn't feel like the hero did all that much in game one, and I'm afraid that it'll just be blown up way too fast, especially if it doesn't get a BKB. On the other hand, it's pretty good against the Tiny, right?
And
a hero that's already struggling, heroes that are already struggling with armor, so and a bit on the fence with it still.
Well, I think Mineski gets ahead, they're going to have a huge advantage, because Blink Dagger coming out on Slardar through Track Gold, for example, they're going to have tons of vision, they're going to be able to jump on people and kill them very rapidly, and I think they just need to initiate first. Don't let Tiny combo somebody down at the start of the fight, for example, and try to deal with the OD and delay his advantage until you have huge gold advantage.
Oh yeah, the game's
all right. Sorry to cut you off, but the game is starting and everyone wants to see the game more than hearing you talk about, so we're going to jump right into the game. It is game time. Game number 3 in this best of between these two teams, Mineski versus compLexity.
Indeed, here we have it, ladies and gentlemen, this deciding game, Kappa Blitz. What a series we've had so far, and what a game this one's going to be. I mean, the two drafts, Mineski taking a bit of a page out of the book that we saw compLexity bring in game 1. You got 4 of the same heroes at their own draft, and then this Morana pick this time around for Cole. What did you think about this Blitz?
I think it's just a Z-Freak hero. More than anything, it synergizes really well with the Outworld Devourer. It's one of those NA flares where they're going to bring it out once in a while. We saw it a lot when the South American scene used to play it, but just kind of feels like something that will work out. And looking at this lineup, by the way, from Mineski, this feels like deja vu. That looks almost identical to compLexity's Game 1 lineup. With I think the only hero that was swapped around is the Axe
for the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, and it was exactly the same otherwise, yeah. So
do you favor compLexity's lineup pretty heavily here?
I think so, considering how Game 1 went with.
Yeah, I think everyone likes compLexity's lineup a lot. It's just got a lot of like very obvious synergies between the OD Morana combination. You also have a compLexity with Tiny, which is one of the better teams with this combo. And I think Swindle's, like, I feel like his Beastmaster is better than most of his other heroes. In fact, he made a really good game in the Shanghai Major with one of his Beastmasters when he was facing up against Admiral Bulldog. And that was one of the most standout performances from him at that tournament. So I like everything about compLexity's draft, and I feel like Mineski have to do so much work with like the Slardar and the Bounty Hunter in this game to offset what is very clearly in my head a mid-game advantage for Cole.
I see Jules. He'll get the D-Ward on the mid lane, as he's trying to do his best to harass the two of them. Bottom lane, Swindles. I mean, you talked about his Beastmaster. I mean, how hard is it going to be for him having to deal with both the Lich and the Slardar on this lane?
I think you still always do somewhat okay as a Beastmaster, just because you can always use your friendly companion boar, and as long as you're not feeding it away, the lane kind of goes somewhat decently for you, just because you can always go for the jungle and Iron Talon yourself. But this time around, Raging Potato should have a much better Blink Dagger timing than Swindles did in his first game, and they really need it. The common thing that we're seeing is whoever gets the jump off in the fights is consistently winning them, and that's why they had to sort of pick the Slardar, because they needed something that could instantly get in there and get the stun off.
Jules, I'm just going to play around here with Z-Freak, as obviously this gank is going to be spotted out, so should expect to see Ben just play a little bit safer on the Invoker, and nonetheless they'll still try and go with the Avalanche toss. Arrow's going to be coming in, but a couple of miles off point there, and Ben's going to be fine, walks back behind the tower, and that arrow from Z-Freak
a little bit off. I'm not sure if he expected like Limp to throw the Invoker backwards, and maybe that's why he threw the arrow where he did, but obviously not the combination that compLexity were looking for. You know, one of the kind of cool things about Mirana is that she does utilize the jungle, which usually Bounty Hunter's okay with. You like to be able to face up against junglers, you're very, very disruptive, but obviously Z-Freak, all he does is just shoot an arrow, kill a creep. That's literally all he does. So it's very unlikely the Bounty Hunter can do any kind of sapping like he normally does against heroes.
I sort of think this Wisp mid is going to be really effective, and Jules, the star of game number 1 in my opinion.
Well, they've gone that cold snap. Yeah, straight in with Jules as well. One more touch should bring him low, but Hansket's going to be fine. Starts to pull up now. Limp frontlining quite a bit. But yeah, they play around it. And I mean, as you said, Jez, this IO pairing is going to be very hard for the Bounty to really catch out unless one of them is very much out of position.
If anything, I think it's time for him to head down to like the bottom lane even. We already have this Lich Slardar. If you can actually get a little bit additional slow, maybe he can get that kill. I'm just not sure he can get a whole lot done in this mid lane right now.
They just don't want to give the Invoker this disadvantageous matchup because it's really easy for Wisp Tiny to just blow somebody up, especially with the Mirana roaming around. And I think this is the biggest danger right now, is that Z-Freak can just instantly go from top to mid, and they don't really have the best vision for him either. They've got this jungle awarded, but they haven't really had to rely on it.
The arrow's going to come in the top lane.
Setting it up with the Astral, but the timing's off! Z-Freak, unfortunately for the side of compLexity, mistiming that one, and Bog's going to be fine. I mean, at the moment, this matchup, 16 for 7 on Yodi, 10 for 1. I mean, do you expect the Doom to find this much CS in this pairing?
I think he's just, the only way he was able to get that much CS is just early on in the laning phase. Otherwise, like, as the laning phase progresses, he just won't be able to do anything.
And there you go, you talked about Jules needing to rotate elsewhere. He's coming on the bottom, and that will secure Mineski first blood. So, as you said, take your eyes away from the mid lane and take your attention down to lanes that are going to be much more easier for Jules to punish.
If only compLexity could have gotten that first blood with the arrow at top.
That definitely should have been it. They would have had enough damage. Just 2 or 3 hits of the Arcane Orb. The Doom doesn't really have a lot of armor, but Cap, I know as a Bounty Hunter player, oftentimes when you roam around, you don't find a lot of success in that mid lane, and that's where it kind of goes, the burden lies on you to make things a lot easier for the off lanes.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of pressure at that point when you rotate all the way over to a side lane to make that gank work. And I think it was like Jules just breathed a huge sigh of relief. He's like, oh, that gank works. All right, I have boots. I can get Orb of Venom as well. And, you know, I've had some impact in the laning phase essentially because that's obviously what the Bounty Hunter does best.
And he's going to go with this as well. He's chasing this down, Raging, coming in, gets the crush off. There'll be a ball to try and help Swindles, but Jules, he's got that Arcane Ring so he can come in hard with a few of these hits. And it doesn't look like it's going to be hard enough. Swindles will be able to survive, and he does have a salve ready as well, so still maintaining his place in this lane. But actually, just I didn't quite look at this again, a mid lane, because they're trying for Ben to get the arrow, misses. They've got the toss damage. Ben, he's going to be able to get himself out here. One more touch, Z-Freak. He'll redeem himself there and allows them to find that kill in the mid lane.
I think he got tossed back in, and then he just turned and went for the Wisp, which was fine, but with the extra help of the Mirana, he wasn't able to escape that.
And I mean, as I was going to say, mid lane, they're trying again for it, but he's got the heal here of the Scorched Earth, and it's going to be just enough. Brock able to walk that one off here with the regen. Bottom lane Swindles, giving it some against Jules. I mean, is this expected? I was looking at the Beastmaster CS, he's only got 4 CS, 5.5 minutes in, or is this totally expected for this lane matchup?
Pretty much expected. You know, he has to play really defensively. He's doing the right thing where he's constantly summoning out boars and putting it on the Slardar. The funny thing is, the boar's slow is actually so powerful that it offsets the sprint, the advantage that Raging Potato usually gets. So he's keeping himself alive for the most part, excluding the Bounty Hunter rotation. I think that's all he can really do.
Yeah, this mid lane is still pretty successful for compLexity. They were able to nab a kill on the Invoker. The Tiny is getting a reasonable amount of farm, and most importantly, this top lane is just dominating for them. The flip side, though, is that the Doom will almost always get farmed just by the nature of Devour, and this Beastmaster just isn't able to even contest this Slardar. And we talked about before the game as well how important it was for this Slardar to have a good game. And so far, he's already got treads, the Bassi could go with it, and once he gets the Blink Dagger, the timing for Mineski is just going to come online so quickly, especially with the track gold.
And as we can see, as you said, just getting more and more space. The mid lane matchup still slightly ahead here for the Invoker, which is certainly going to be very happy with, considering that he's been against both the Tiny and the IO lane. Jules, back down to the bottom, see if he can go for it. Swindles, though, continue to play it safe. Yeah, they can't quite get in. Jules coming a little bit too close to the tower there, so Swindles, he'll keep on his guard. I'm not going to see him die, but mid lane, trying to make a go on the Invoker. They've got the toss. There's your arrow this time, it's on point, and Cole, I'll get the kill this time with the rotation from Zifu.
You know, I was just about to say, I feel like Bounty Hunter is taking the success of the first blood at bottom lane almost to the next extreme, where he's like, oh, well, I'm constantly going to go bottom. But no, Blitz pointed out he needs to be in the mid lane to be able to help the Invoker against this combination. At the very least, if they go on the Invoker, they do this whole combination. As a Bounty Hunter, you need to be able to like step in front of the arrow or something. You know, stop this full stun combination with lots of nuke damage on one hero and prevent the Invoker from going down, because compLexity are winning essentially 2 of the 3 of their lanes, and putting more pressure on Swindles isn't doing anything.
Oh, just hanging around a little bit at the wrong time there. Nearly had the potential for a Courier Snipe. And mid lane going in again with the toss. Avalanche back. And then he's got the help of Jules this time. They'll try and turn it a little bit with the cold snap on the hands. Get the Shuriken as well. They'll get the IO. But they do lose the Invoker. Now Jules, he's got to run. He's got to hide. He can't indeed. The walk's still on cooldown. And compLexity with a nice double there for Limp in the mid lane.
So huge for them to be able to get another kill, especially on the Bounty Hunter, but TPs are coming in.
Tossing him out. Jesse trying to close, but now Chessie coming in with a rotation. Astraling up the man, but he can't go in for any more as the Chain Frost bounces. Will hold back the ODs. So they do keep the man safe there. Limp being bottled up by Hansken. Eyes on this one. Jules still hanging around this mid lane.
Unless something is going to dramatically change for Mineski, it seems like Hansken's going to get a pretty well-timed level 6, and this is where the Bounty Hunter is going to be much less effective, whether it's the saving mechanism or relocate, or alternatively, he tries to set up a gank, and then all of a sudden the numbers advantage.
Top lane, straight in with the Doom. Now Jules with the rotation up top, Sunstrike. That's going to be off point, but Jules continues to chase Limp with the rotation. Avalanche up to 2, they'll bring down the Mirana. Can they get themselves out? Bocker is trying for the TP. Will he make it? No! The right clicks are enough, and now Jules
get him with the balls.
He's got to dodge the balls, and he will. He'll be fine, but Limp now on a killing spree on the Tiny with these rotations.
Sort of think right now, compLexity, they're just waiting for Limp to get probably a Blink Dagger at this point. If you're not going to commit for the drums, that's most likely the direction that you're going to go for, and Chessie continues to have a really good game. I was just looking around the map, they've got the level 6 on the Beastmaster, you've got a lot of different ways to set up the IO relocate as well, with the Astral Imprisonment on top of the Roar. So Mineski, they're still waiting on this Blink Dagger on the Slardar, and that's the one downside of their lineup. They need the level 6 on the Bounty Hunter, they need the Blink Dagger on the Slardar before they can start making things happen.
I have no idea how Mineski actually stopped essentially from dying, from getting picked off so many times when you have such potent kill combinations. This isn't exactly a lineup that you want to be grouping up too much. Like, you know, Doom wants to be able to spend some time being able to devour and farm up. Like, he's not ready to be a full carry core just yet. Neither is the Slardar. He doesn't have his Blink Dagger. And obviously Invoker needs time with his Midas. So this, like, the next 5 minutes, I think, is a good window for compLexity to establish a lot of control.
Bocker and Jesse, we've got to be careful, Cole. They've got 4 up here. Look, we're coming straight round. We're on to Bocker. In comes the rest of compLexity. The arrow is going to connect. They'll throw back a Chain Frost, trying to hold them back. Limp comes in with a combo, bursts down the Doom. Jesse will be able to TP away, but it's another pick off for compLexity, and I get a tier 1 as well. More favorable action for this Tiny. 4-0-2 and 2.8k gold in the bank.
I mean, that was the most defensive position you could be at Mineski at that point in time, and it still didn't matter. Like, they got a good, like, zoning Chain Frost to try and keep heroes back, but it doesn't matter. They get the initial stun, follow up, there's just too much of it.
I think if you just look at Mineski's lineup, so much of this went into the laning phase. They had a Bounty Hunter, which is the laning hero, the laning winning hero, and you've got a Lich who kind of serves the same purpose. Like, these heroes don't do well if they're not dominating the lanes. The Bounty Hunter can transition a little bit better, but especially Lich, not a lot of defensive capabilities. Yes, you've got the Chain Frost, but compLexity played around that really well.
Potato coming around the corner, gets jumped on by Limp and Hansken. The Switch Strike, it's going to miss though, and Raging Potato trying to sprint away. But he won't be able to escape. Let's see if Mineski could try and punish something in return. Hansken getting low, but it's Tevers across. He's going to be fine now. Chessie's the one coming in. Limp jumps back forward, gets the toss off. The arrow connects onto the Invoker. He's dusted up as well. There's no escape for this man. Double kill again for Limp. Picking up the action. It's just not stopping for this Tiny. And this Tiny getting seriously out of hand. Nearly 2k ahead of the highest net worth on Mineski. That Raging Potato Slardar.
It's nasty when the Tiny's able to get his Blink Dagger much faster than your Slardar.
It doesn't get easier either.
And again, another clean one for compLexity. Wicked sick on the Tiny. They've got to do something.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Radiant structures are fortified.
The prize is mine!
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's bottom tower has been denied.
Vanish. Shadows take us.
The hit is level 6, but it does look like Cole want to take this fight anyways.
They're using the moonlight to close back in. Make sure they're not scouted out. We'll see if they get anything here. Raging Potato. It's going to get off. Trying to throw a Sunstrike, get some intel. Hansken is going to get the dust onto Jules, and again, Jules got to be careful. Chessie gives him a touch and then backs off the arrow. Not going to connect this time. And it looks like compLexity just opting to back off here. I mean, Roshan is up. I mean, are we going to see either of these lineups try for the Rosh anytime soon?
I just think it's more likely that Mineski might go for it, if anything, just because they might just feel like they're pressured to.
Yeah, it's a desperation play, right? With the Slardar amplified damage, you can do it, but it's kind of one of those like high risk and relatively low reward plays.
This is we have to do something with the smoke.
If they can find a pick off and then they just find that opening to go for it.
Yeah, Treckhold is still Treckhold. There have been many games where you watch a bounty hunter play, he has nothing, and then all of a sudden one fight goes well, 3 or 4 tracks happen, and you've got a mech, and suddenly you can team fight, but you need to get something out of this opening Blink Dagger, and they might just find
if they find this indeed, straight up with the stun, into the Sunstrike, Hansken tethers away though! Oh, it's gonna live! No! Oh, that's gotta be painful for Mineski, and they can't chase that one down. Hansken just outplaying the courier though. Nearly getting taken down there by Swindle's bot. In fact, it's going to come straight back over, but bot, he jumps it up. Oh, arrow connecting. Can they, yeah, compLexity jumping in. Combo onto the man on the potato. He's gone bot deep in now, but he can't make it. Astral comes in to cancel it. And looks like the 13 for 4 is going to turn into a 14 for 4. Another pick off for compLexity. And Mineski when they try their best to look for some favorable action, compLexity just come back hard and smack them right back down.
Z-Freak made 3 different plays there. First of all, he was behind them and hit him with the arrow, stalling up the retreat, right? So free pick off there. He also kills the courier on the way back, and then he also leaps forward like that and was what gave vision on the Doom. The Doom was in kind of like a cubby hole. He had to actually leap forward and give that vision for the OD to get that imprisonment where they secured the extra kill. compLexity, like, this is like the freest game at this point that you're going to experience in this tournament. You're so far ahead by 17 minutes. All you have to do is control yourself against a bounty and not give up track kills.
And here we go, looking for a track onto Jesse, jumping forward, chain thrust as well. The Surge Truck connects, he's going to Astral himself there. But Mineski should have a good shot at finishing this off, and yeah, indeed, as you said though, blinks out. Now blinking back in, as the avalanche toss onto Reggie, but then a Jules caught out as well, and it's 2 more for the side of compLexity. Z-Freak leaping in, Bot trying to get himself back to base, but the Arcane Orbs coming in hard. The Urn taking him down, the extra toss, chucks in the Necro unit, and it ends up crushing the Doom. Another one, and Limp now beyond godlike. This has been pretty much a textbook Tiny game. I mean, Limp, he must have had a game this good in a long time on the Tiny. We have seen him do great performances, but this has got to be one of the best he's had.
Yeah, especially in this tournament where they're just fighting to survive, 1 game away from being eliminated, especially after game 1 and 2 where it looked like Cole's backs were against the ropes. This game just looks so dominant through and through, and Mineski, they don't have the personnel to fight anymore. Doom is a hero that you kind of want to chase with, you want to get that Doom off, but he can't really gap close on anybody, and Bounty Hunter just doesn't provide anything in these team fights.
You really are going to need a lot of that track going from Jules to close the gap that has been created between these two sides. I mean, if you're Mineski Cap, what is the play? I mean, we saw them try and go for a smoke. It ended up getting turned around because the team fight from compLexity is so strong. I mean, is there a point where you're just waiting for compLexity to come to you and you're looking to try and kind of jump back in off the back of a bad engagement from Cole?
No, I don't think there's any way for them to like still feel optimistic while playing passive. I think you're eventually just going to be stuck in this sort of atmosphere of fear and suffering and just kind of sitting back waiting for the game to end. Even though you do have the minuses, like that kind of plays into increasing the longevity of the game in some ways. If you look at compLexity's lineup though, it's just so much better. Like Will keeps on saying, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Well, Limp, he's got a plate mail already. He's going to have an AC. The carry Tiny is going to be in full force, and it's not like he's the only guy they have to deal with. It's also the OD. I think Mineski just has to keep going, essentially. You can just be like, all right, damn, all the kills that happened before, this time when we play aggressive, it's gonna work. Just stay positive.
I mean, Blitz, in an ideal world, if you're Mineski, you're looking at that Tiny, he's on 12.04. Oh, that Thor Evoker Jules, he's been arrowed up. And again, this bounty getting caught out. But talking about bounties, who do you want to be getting that money for if you're Mineski? Who could really turn the game around if they're able to get that final touch onto a Tiny?
I'm not even sure, because the Slaughter doesn't really benefit from having another item here. It's not going to change anything. The Invoker's kind of in a similar situation.
It's go time.
Oh, they can't quite get the Doom. They jump in, they get a crush, Amplifies as well with the Doom. The Sunstrike, everything being thrown out. Who's going to get the money? Oh! Payday here for the Doom. 1k gold straight up for Bot, and he's up to 2.1k. Now, we talked about what the big item could be. If you're the Doom, you've just got 2k. What are you buying?
Sort of think even a Blink Dagger would be okay here.
Oh, if they can find more, talking about the Blitz jumping in there, Reggie Potato, and they'll get a second. Another big kill at the same time. compLexity, they will find a tier 2 on the bottom. Mineski finding 2 very, very big kills there for the side.
They're going to just take this tower. They're going to have to back up, especially against the Necrobooks.
I don't think we've talked about the OD in a while, but this is where I think that Blitz is totally on point with the Blink Dagger pickup, is that the OD is going to be a threat, and somehow Bocarino has to address that. If you can blink in, take the OD out of the fight.
Oh, he's going in so hard there, and Z-Freak and Chessie are on the sidelines. They do know Chessie's there, they've got the trap venue, but Reggie Potato doesn't seem to care. He's still hanging around here. Jules trying to come in, and Doom is coming through as well, but they won't be able to catch them out. TP away there from the Beastmaster, and top lane Ben was just pushing it in, but gets himself away from that Tiny. And still Roche is there. Neither team's trying to attempt for it as of yet. I guess if you're compLexity, you don't really need to, and I guess if you're Mineski, it's a little bit too risky still to try for a Roche.
I think if you take the Roshan fight and it goes badly, the game actually just ends. Because you give up the Roshan, you probably lose 2 or 3 heroes minimum. Probably even more than that, because what compLexity's lineup does really well when you've got this double blink setup is they chase you down. They will not let you get away. And right now, Mineski are in a somewhat okay position. Your Doom is a BKB now. The Invoker continues to get a lot of items. He's got the travels now, has the point booster. He's tanking up himself. It's just that complexity. They have so many different ways to approach these fights.
Yeah, soon it's going to be Blink Dagger on the Beastmaster as well, and then you have like a third kill combo, which is just Swindles and his Necronomicon plus the Blink Initiation. So
with the smoke into Roche,
they have to contest.
But this, it just doesn't look like they're in a position to do so. 4 spread around the mid lane. Roche gonna fall relatively quickly here. The punches of complexity and they'll get it. 3 Roche down, 3 Aegis hit. As Mineski just not in a position to fight, and yes, with the warning round, it was of course a smoke in from complexity. So Mineski just went away.
You're seeing why Beastmaster OD is such a strong combination though. He gets the Necronomicon, he's giving out the auras, and OD, he's right-clicking so quickly. They made very short work of that Roshan. Now he has an Aegis. And Eski have to avoid fights for the next 5 minutes. They can't fight into an Aegis OD, I don't think.
I mean, part of the problem though is that they just don't really flash farm very quickly either. They don't have a hero like the Nature's Prophet that can safely just split the map up and find vision for them. It's like you said before the Roshan fight, they kind of just have to fight. It sucks, and it feels like there should be a better option, but there's really not.
This just comes back to more of a draft problem than anything else. You shouldn't ever have a draft that pigeonholes you this much, where you have to do extremely well in the laning phase in order to stop complexity from running over you and still maintaining a better late game as well.
Jules, he's just gonna scout.
Has to just be so careful about revealing himself around these guys.
They've done such a good job, by the way, Owen, of constantly getting him whenever he does anything. Like, if he pops out of Invis for half a second, they have dust.
On him. Jules coming in. Again. Chessie just getting pushed. We'll see if Mineski want to do anything to react to this, but still Mineski a little bit split up. You've got Invoker down the bottom pushing it out, top lane Raging Potato on his Slardar trying to work around this top lane. And the rest of them in the base. And see with the smoke from Swindles and Z3 if they do find anything, but...
So, BKB on Doom? Are you down?
What other item is really going to do it for him?
I mean, if it wasn't the Blink Dagger, I think BKB... That was...
It does
item it had to be.
Yeah, it takes away a lot of the damage from complexity.
Yeah.
You can't burst him with the hits from the Tiny. The Arcane Orb suddenly doesn't do anything to you. You still have to run into a lot though. There's the Roar available.
Part of the problem, I think, is that he's going to be lacking in damage because he went for the Max Devour build, which is fine. They were like, he had to get farm, right? But he doesn't have the maxed out Infernal Blade yet. So if you're popping that BKB, you run in Doom, you need to be able to output some sustained damage, and it really comes from Infernal Blade. Otherwise, complexity is just going to be like, okay, you doomed someone, but we're just going to ignore you from here on out while you're BKB'd and just deal with the rest of your team. So he needs to actually be more of a constant threat than just his ultimate, and that's going to require 2 more levels where he can get that really low cooldown.
As you can see at the moment, just Mineski staying up in their base, being very careful about any movements outside of it. Jules sometimes coming out on the bounty to get a bit of vision, bit of intel here for the team. Complexity just standing strong. We can see at the bottom already trying to push in that third lane so they can have all the lanes pressured against the side of Mineski before. I mean, I'd imagine we'll see a high ground push anytime soon. Surely Complexity is strong enough by now. Yes. Or are they waiting for anything? Is there still another big item that they'd like to have to be super secure?
At the same time, I don't know, Blitz, what's your philosophy? It feels like it's never bad to wait when you know you have super late game.
I'm not really sure what Mineski is even supposed to do in a situation like this. I feel like Cole just they buy a gem, they can sit outside the base forever, to rack up gold everywhere. They know that Jules won't ever leave the base, and then eventually maybe Mineski gets fed up enough where they're just like, we have to make something happen on the map, but it's just a rough situation because no matter how you twist things, Mineski are kind of in a hole right now.
Yeah, if Complexity do what Blitz is talking about, just starving them out, the only play Mineski has is pushing out S5 with a gem of their own and trying to take away vision from Complexity, or smoking. And both of those options, like, you just have so few smokes at this point in time. They only have 1 left in their shop, and a gem, obviously.
Raging. Has to be careful. Very, very close to having the money for his own BKB on the Slardar. That would have been a very painful death.
They do have the Axe, though. Ben-Hur is picking up the Ags on Invoker. That hero is one of the toughest to push high ground against. That is a small little bright point. in Mineski's current situation.
The problem right now with Mineski trying to go for a smoke is that the lanes are constantly pushed in, so it would honestly be the most obvious thing ever. When you're going to smoke, a bunch of creeps are hitting your towers, you're not defending any of them, you just can't leave your base in a situation like this. Eventually they're going to wait for the OD to run out of the Aegis, then maybe they make a move or something like that, and they hard commit to something, but at the current phase of the game, they just can't really leave their base, and like we talked about, Z-Freak immediately buys a gem for his team, because he realizes, let's take away all the vision in the game, and force Mineski to just leave their base out of frustration.
And look at that. They don't need to use the Aegis, they don't try and push high ground. They're okay with just controlling the map, and this can go on really for as long as compLexity want to, but most likely they're just going to farm up for another 5 minutes, take the next Roshan, and that will probably be a high ground time, because they'll have enough items on the Tiny that he's a constant threat standing on the high ground, and then the OD. What do you think you go for here, like Scythe? I
don't even think it matters too much.
Yeah.
You go for the moon shards of your own just to pump out the damage. They have enough ways to save them. They're going to grab the Lotus Orb anytime soon on the Mirana too, who's got the Midas and is just steadily farming away. Right now, Mineski, there's probably some weird small timing window where they can make something happen, but there's not a whole lot that they can wait for. It's like you've got 1200 gold on your Lich, he's not really waiting for anything, your Invoker just picked up the Aghanim Scepter, maybe, I don't think there's any way he's going to get the Octarine Core. Doom maybe can still afford something.
It's just so sad that Mineski don't have the kind of threat that forces the OD into like getting a BKB. You know, because at least in those scenarios, it slows down the OD's like heavy glass cannon damage that he's able to output. But here in this game, like, he doesn't really need a BKB at all. Like, he might get doomed, but that's okay. As you said, they've got plenty of ways to be able to save him, and he could just go raw damage. So if at any point in time, if Mineski slip up in the team fight and don't address him with the Doom, or if it's not the Doom, heavy disables and focusing him down, he's gonna single-handedly kill everyone.
Yeah, he could still go for a Linken's too against the Doom.
Yeah, that's a good point.
With the pace of the game right now, it doesn't really matter because they're just getting steadily further and further ahead. If you just look at the net worth graph, it is just slowly ticking up over time. They can't leave their base. The XP is following a similar trend, and compLexity have done such a good job of controlling the map, but everyone just continues to farm up everywhere right now. And maybe that's an opening for Mineski if they can catch 1 or 2 heroes out.
Yeah, this is your point where you try and push out the lane just enough where maybe you can go for a smoke and, you know, push out and find some sort of aggressive pickoff or something. But as we see with the Manta from the Tiny, like pushing out that top lane a bit, like their lanes are constantly right next to the tier 3 tower.
They're going for a smoke here. So look on the bottom, just they're coming out of the base, Mineski. And
notice how the bounty hunter's showing himself at bottom.
Yeah.
Like that's actually pretty important to actually have heroes on the map, so compLexity don't see the obvious. There are 0 heroes on our mini map. Why? But
yeah, it's so hard for them to do this though. And all okay, Tiny's already found the bounty. Swindles though will get taken out of Limb. They're going to come in. The BKB's been popped by Bok. Outrage played at Bok, trying to walk into this. But the physical damage seems to be too much. He will get the Doom out onto Chesney. Needs to come through from Ben, trying to scatter compLexity. But Lim's just chasing this one down, seeing what else he can find. Avalanche onto Ben. He will still be able to walk it off. It's a 2-for-1, and I guess on the plus, considering the situation, it's not awful for Mineski. They actually managed to find a kill in return.
It's just so demotivating when you see your Doom pop his BKB. He's like, all right, guys, this is the fight. I'll Doom up the OD, and then just gets smashed by the Tiny's physical damage because he has no armor.
How can they deal with this Tiny, as you said? Raging, just laying down the Amplify. But Hansken just sitting there fueling up the Tiny from the back lines. The fort will come out. They will have to Doom back up in 10 seconds. Then popping the Avalanche, looking to jump in, crush again, but there's the defensive Astral, the Frost. Will bounce back, but compLexity they scatter. Limp blinks himself away. Mineski, can they try and chase down someone on this? Z-Jules already heading in, seeing what he can find out for the side. Looking at Z-Freak, looking at Limp, looking at Hansken. And they're just playing it safe and managed to get another track out. And they do hold still, but Mineski, it's just getting harder and harder, as you say, and I don't know, they need something really spectacular to be able to bring this one back at this position.
Hey, all it takes is like compLexity, they decide to drop like 1 item apiece, then maybe the game gets somewhat even. Like if they just decide we don't need blink daggers anymore.
Someone dropped his Yule Scepter, and something happens to it.
And then Anna's out onto the towers. Jumping from Raging. In comes Bok as well. Actually, yeah, Bok's going to be the one Astro. Raging Potato coming back in. Ben dropping the combox and Lim. Mossy's power. Raging Potato. The roll coming through as well. And Bok stuck in the middle of this one. Bok getting hammered down and he's gone. Lim falling low but not low enough. Gets relocated out. He's going to be fine. Mineski once again losing the Doom this time. Nothing in return. Tiny's going to be coming back in. Refueled by the IO. They'll clear up the mid lane racks of complexity. Finally being able to break this base, 21-7. Arax favoring them as well. They'll move to the top, look for more. Mineski, can they really do anything to stop this? And Lim just jumps straight in onto Raging Potato. He's gone! Charity's going to drop by Chessie. First down the Potato. Jules has to Scarpa back to base. It's a second set of racks. And GG is called. Mineski try as hard as they might, but complexity show us that here they're the superior team and they'll be moving on in this tournament. There's a strong showing by Mineski, but they're going home, Cap.
A big drafting win for complexity here to round out their game number 3. They are going to be able to stay alive in this tournament, but I do want to point out that Mineski had some bright parts in this tournament. They had game number 2 against Team Liquid. The first half of that game was a decent run by them. Game 2 against complexity as well. Obviously, they took that game, and that was huge. So I think there are still some bright spots to see, but obviously complexity looking, I mean, with that kind of lineup, they look really good.
I sort of think that Mineski are going to be really disappointed, especially in that game 1, where it felt like they were maybe 5 minutes away from being able to win. If they were just a tiny bit more clean on their execution, we could have a completely different storyline coming out of this. But in complexity, they're going to walk away with a victory. Is good show, sportsmanship, is handshakes all around.
Absolutely, and well, what a series it was. Just that last game, complexity showing us that they were really back on form. An important match as well, of course, because this is going to really help towards complexity's build.